Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. First Guy Omaha Radio. First Guy Omaha in the morning.
In the morning. Me.
Check 1 2 1 2 1 2.
Check 3 4. Is this thing on?
It's actually a good question. I can't tell.
Can you hear me?
All right. We're going to get started regardless. First Guy Omaha Radio. First Guy Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
All Buddi3 Da Gawd. All of you chat chimers, ghost listeners, radio listeners, thanks for joining us on this Wednesday, April 17th, 2024. Yeah. Feels like a hump day to me. How y'all doing out there?
Yeah, it does. Hump day, for better or for worse. Take it how you want.
Okay, that's what's up. Looks like the program we're using is doing some weird technical things this morning. So, all right then. Well, we getting some feedback already. Black Dynamite says, I hear both of y'all. Right on.
Yeah.
Appreciate that very much. Sometimes we don't be knowing on this side.
Yeah. It's kind of a guessing game sometimes. So we definitely appreciate y'all keeping us on our toes. Also, Tamika Johnson, Lady Keister in. Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, Tamika Johnson gets some sunshine. It's definitely going to be a sunshiny day today. So appreciate that. Black Dynamite says, good morning, y'all. What's up Wednesday, Lady Keister? Pop says, all right. First Guy is Wednesday. Sending mad love from Las Vegas.
Hey.
Pop's favorite day.
Yeah, man. How's it going, Mr. Allen?
Yeah, man. What's going on with you? How's the weather out there on the West Coast?
What's up?
We do have special guests coming in. Kimara Snipes is going to be on today, so I look forward to speaking with her. As always, a wealth of information and all that good stuff, so can't wait to talk to her about what's going on around town.
Yeah. Always looking forward to having that conversation and getting an update. Let us know also what's going on with yous alls in your worlds.
Yeah, love to hear from the Judy Prince in the house. So good morning to you. Appreciate you coming on in.
How's the new hip treating you?
Yeah, shout out to our radio listeners as well over there on the radio channel. Club 630. Let us know how the mix was. FirstGuyOmaha.com. Hit the listen button.
Getting down.
Yeah, getting down over there this morning. Trying to. I'm doing this thing where I'm getting up in the night before now and like putting a special mix together for 6:30. So I'm not rushing in the morning to try to just haphazardly put some stuff in. I can put a little bit more thought into that little list I'm doing. So
okay.
Yeah, we'll see what's going on. Judy Prince says, excellent. That's
okay.
What's up.
Maybe tune in to Club 630, shake a little tail feather. Cut a little rub.
Miss Erica Fell gives us a good morning, everyone. Good morning to you. Pop says, everything is lovely in Las Vegas.
Okay.
That's what's up.
Man, Vegas been calling my name a little bit lately.
Really?
Got to make it back out to Vegas, man. My uncle lives out there. He just had a birthday. Shout out to Uncle Shannon. Happy belated birthday. Yeah. Got some fam out there.
Yeah, I got a whole bunch of fam out there. I need to get back out there myself. So I was looking at thinking about driving back this time, and then I talked to Amy Holmes over there at the Heart Ministries, who just came back from the West Coast herself, and she was like, it was treacherous driving through. She was like, it was biblical proportions on the different weathers that was going on, hailstorms and high winds, and I was like, yeah, maybe I just. Of course, I don't know with these Boeing planes falling out the sky. I don't know.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about that.
Need the teleporter. Yeah, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna have to talk about it.
Yeah, at some point, just falling apart, man. You hear about, the whole whistleblower that worked for Boeing supposedly unalived himself.
Yeah, quote unquote. Yeah. It's a trip. Well, our world is a trip. That's why we're here to talk about it. Lots of good things to talk about today too. But before we get to all that, how you feeling, man? It's middle of the week. How you doing?
I'm all right, man. I'm in the middle of it. A lot of things, a lot of pots on the fire, if you will. A lot of things going, kind of doing a juggling act right now. But in the middle, we stay calm. We just drop bombs.
I mean, that's the nature to me of hump day. That's why I don't, I'll be like, it feels like a hump day. It feels like, man, we can just get
Yeah,
over this hump.
that part.
Because if you got things in fire going on during the week, then this go today is the day that all those things will probably be in play. So
Man, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But man, actually, it's a lot of it's kind of the quiet before the storm. Really,
Mm.
actually, um, yeah, a lot of things going on. I haven't really even told you, man. A buddy of mine, a DJ, he just we're opening a new lounge this
Mm.
weekend, and yeah, yeah. So 3 nights of man, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Uh, yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. Kind of helping out with that. Might be DJing a couple nights myself. So getting back into the swing of things on that. Trying to get a little extra loot.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, man. So yeah, that's jumping off this weekend. Of course, man, working on First Sky stuff. Got projects we working on with that. Excited about that.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, just family stuff. Little man is boxing, so kind of his trainer got us going to a new gym clear on the other side of town, so getting used to
Mm.
that. Yeah, man, it's just a lot of things going, but I love it. I love it,
Well, if you love it, I love it. So
man.
yeah.
How about
On the
yourself, man?
I'm doing all right, man. Same thing. Lots of projects, lots of stuff going on, and but happy that we got this steady conversation going on here on the show, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. For those of you just joining us, 7 to 9, we be on talking about the latest subjects and things going on. Let's go ahead and get the show started. We can come back and talk about some of those things. It's actually a pretty heavy news day.
It
Uh,
is,
Lots of really interesting things in the news. I can't wait to hear from y'all about. For
man.
real. Yep, yep. Jess Parker gives us a good morning. Good morning. Yeah, let's go ahead and get the show on the road, man. Thanks for joining us again. A fresh edition of First Guy Omaha in the morning.
In the morning,
It's happening right now, Wednesday, April 17th, 2024. Let's do it.
let's start the show.
What up? What up? What up? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Once again, First Guy Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
I'm Paul B. He's Buddy the God.
Hey.
And all of you chat chimers, ghost listeners, radio listeners, thanks for joining us again. It is Wednesday, April 17th, 2024.
Already.
Special guest Kimara Snipes coming on today. Got lots to talk about, and we'll definitely dive into some things. And yes, Anthony Hart in the chat. That's the one that stood out for me. Mary Jean trying to get votes from folks she didn't care about. Don't seem like she cares about half the time. But it was a very interesting thing. We've been talking about the parking ordinance, and we had a very very spirited conversation the other day
Man,
about this thing that just got passed, where they're going to make it hard for folks to park on the lawns. They're just going to be walking up and down your street, handing out tickets, maybe towing you,
man.
and can't even park on your own grass. Well,
Send me the court.
Mayor Stothert just vetoed this just in time for reelection.
Yeah. Oh yeah, just in time. Just in time. Also kind of talked about, who might be in her ear whispering some
Yeah.
things. But yeah, we'll get into it though. Not so fast. Not so fast, Paul. I hear the excitement in your voice and slow your roll. Slow
Hey
your
man,
roll.
I'm going off of the chat. The chat already knows what the deal is.
Man, yeah, big time, big time. So definitely let your mind be free, let your voice be heard. Of course, there's a couple things we're gonna be talking about. So yeah,
Yep,
yeah,
yeah. Let's
yeah.
get into it. What's on the agenda for today?
Okay, well, yeah. Other than Mayor Mean Gene's veto, which again, there's some stipulations, some other conversation happening around that. We're not quite out the water yet, so we'll definitely be talking about that. Also, some things happening with OPS. Of course, as Paul mentioned, we will be having Sister Kimara Snipes on today, and remember, she is running for Omaha School Board. So again, some possible changes for the next 3 years for OPS. Shout out to our chat chimer Marlon Harrison, who's actually asked us some pretty thought-provoking questions that I want to present to you all here in the chat. So again, big shout out to all of our chat chimers that also frequent the Friends of First Sky page. We appreciate your participation in that. Also, apparently, it is Black Maternity Health Week. Something we definitely should be talking about, especially in light of the designation from Douglas County of racism as a health disparity, or I forget exactly what uh, the terminology around it. But again, recognizing the connection between racism and health, and making it an issue. And so definitely want to talk about that. Oh, thank you, Miss Erica Phelps. She's saying it's month, not just Black Maternal Health Week, but apparently it's all month. But yeah, we're definitely going to talk about it today. So definitely would love to hear your thoughts, especially all the mothers out there. I know we got a few mamas out there. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. I don't have the experience. So again, let your mind be free on that one. Also, definitely want to talk about what's going on with Douglas County. A few things actually happening in Douglas County. Of course, it is election season, and Douglas County Election Commissioner Brian Cruz telling us that there are some changes to look out for, especially with polling places. So again, if you're one of the ones who are providing or preparing to go into the poll and not voting from home, you might want to listen up to some of these changes. Of course, this is one of the first years we're voting with the ID bill. So yeah, again, keep in mind what's going on and the details around that. Don't want anybody to be turned away. Also, coming out of Douglas County, a grand jury is recommending that there be more scrutiny of jail and prison deaths. Again, there's been a few deaths at facilities in Douglas County, something that we definitely need to be talking about. So again, want to draw your attention to that. And then also, there's a few other stories happening, man. Of course, some things happening with the tax situation, and actually, a few broadcasters are chiming up. Again, there's a proposal to tax digital ads. That was one of the changes that was proposed in the tax bill. So again, we'll definitely try to dive into that. Also, there's some big shout out to a native young lady who's going to compete on the national level. There we go. Try to get my words together. But yeah, compete on the national level for the National Poet Laureate situation. If you remember, Miss Gorman was one of the more renowned youth poets. She actually read the poem at the inauguration in 2021. So yeah, this is a heavy move that this young lady is going for. So again, a lot of news to talk about. Of course, if there's anything happening in your world that we're not talking about, but feel like the people should know about it, I definitely drop that into the chat and we'll try to dive into that as well. Again, we're here for the next 2 hours. So yeah,
Yeah.
buckle up. Buckle up.
Shout out to you, the chat chimers, man. You guys are really join the Friends of First Guy Omaha group page, where a lot of this discussion, a lot of these articles are being pulled together. So really appreciate everybody that's doing that.
Thank you.
Y'all don't hesitate to let us know what's on your minds about some things, and that's what this is all about. So appreciate it very much. And if any parts of this show, do us a favor. First of all, share the show if you're on Facebook and YouTube. I see Facebook is working, so that's good. Mama God in the house. Good morning, First Guy fam. Good morning, fam.
Hey, my dudes.
But share the show if you would. Get as many people in on the conversation as we can today. Lots of pretty interesting topics today. Sometimes it's like a somber news day or, some heavy stuff. But today, I don't know. There's a little edge of entertainment going on in the in the stuff today. The natural progression of some of these stories,
Mm-hmm.
and also some of the stuff that's in the news that we didn't expect to see. Look at the news every day. Deep dive into these
Man.
things so that we can bring these topics to the conversation. And so sometimes I get surprised. So this is one of them days. There's a couple things like, say what? Okay, that's what's up.
A little bit.
Marlon Harrison in the chat said, "Good morning, First Guy fan." What about you, buddy? Anything strike you today is like, really? Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple things. There's a couple things. Some more heavy stuff. Definitely this grand jury. Like finally we talk about prison reform. Big shout out to again Senators Wayne and McKinney for some of the victories that they had in the legislature. But also, yeah, this whole veto that definitely surprised me as far as Mayor Gene Stothert's veto of the ordinance. Yeah, a couple other things happening in the news. So yeah, I mean, it's the news though. I find it interesting. But I'm a journalist by trade, so I don't know if I'm kind of just nerding out on some of that stuff, or it's actually entertaining. So yeah.
Sometimes for me, sometimes it is. Sometimes it's just journalistically interesting. But
Hmm.
today there was a little edgy entertainment going on with some of this stuff. I knew somebody in the chat was already going to be like, "Oh, Gene trying to get them votes."
Man, Mean Gene.
Miss Erica Felt it says she's been sharing the info on Nebraska Provider Spot. Go check out her Nebraska Provider Spot. What is it on Facebook, Miss Erica Felt?
Yeah, I believe so.
Information on uh, what were we talking about a little earlier?
Maternal health.
Oh, right,
Maternal
right,
health
right,
month,
right.
not
Maternal Health
week.
Month. So yeah, probably got some good resources over there. Ron's review says First Sky is live. They are all the way live. Don't even have to walk. Don't even have to drive. Just slide, glide, slip, slide. Just forget about your troubles in your 9 to 5. Hell alone. Sleep. Hey, Ron's
It was
reviews.
funny. You caught the groove, like took
I didn't know
you a
what was
little bit
going
to
in
catch the
first.
groove.
Yeah. That first line had me thrown. Miss Gwen Easter gives us a good morning. She says, "Where is your group page?" It's over on Facebook. It's called Friends of First Sky Omaha. So go ahead over there and drop some articles and things over there. Yeah, Black Maternal Health Month.
Month.
So yeah, put the link to your Facebook page, your Nebraska provider spot page in the chat if you would. We'll go ahead and let people go check that out too. Lots of wealth of information out there. I always love when there's new things happening. People hit me up sometimes and go, so and so's doing a show too. And I'm like, yeah, go check it out. Yeah, we'll put it on Friends Up because you think we out here competing, but we need all the discussion in the news and the podcast we can get around here
Yeah.
at
We
this
don't
new
hate. We congratulate.
yeah, and more importantly, we collaborate. So,
Hey,
yeah, we
yeah.
gotta do it. We gotta do it. But yeah, man. So that's kind of what's on my mind this morning. I appreciate everybody coming in. Some of those things I read this morning, I was like, man, I can't wait to hear what the chat got to say about this.
Yeah. So yeah, if you know any other creators, man, we always looking for them. We looking. So
For real.
let us know. Especially if it's something that you find valuable, you personally get information from, or or just entertained by it. Let us know, because yeah, we always looking for that stuff. Trying to at least big it up. Might even try to pull it together.
And if you would, the chat chimers, especially if you have a page that you're promoting or something that you're doing over here, let us know. We promote. We don't just ask you to share our show; like we share your stuff too. So hit us with that. We'll definitely share it all around our outlets and keep people more aware of what's going on there. So. And we're working on that even more, man. That's why I'm a little worried about this little digital tax going on. It's hard enough to get digital ads going on, and Pillon's going to put some tax on it now.
Really, really,
A little
really.
bit, yeah. It struck me as like, oh man, he messing with our strategy a little bit with that.
Yeah, get your hand out of my pocket.
I said, get your hand out of my pocket. Yeah, man.
Man,
Yeah.
actually, let's,
So,
let's go ahead and dive into that a little bit as we get the day started.
yeah.
Again, let your mind be free, let your voice be heard on this. But I feel like this is something that some people might not be aware of, but it will impact just about everybody. Even if you're not a broadcaster, if you're a business owner, this will impact you as well. Again, if you haven't heard, we've been talking a little bit about. Am I good? Am I good?
Yeah, you good
Okay.
for it. Yep.
If you haven't heard, we've been talking a little bit about Governor Pillen's changes to his property tax relief plan. Again, there's been several iterations of this plan, and initially there were going to be some moving and robbing Peter to pay Paul and taking funds out of certain statewide programs and entities and agencies, and of course they chimed up like, not so fast. Then that changed to possibly increasing not income tax but sales tax, and now there's a last change, a last iteration of the plan which we discussed, which include taxing things like candy, cigarettes, and interestingly enough, digital ads, which in this age of social media, that's a big thing. That's a big thing. And now Nebraska's broadcasters are mounting an 11th hour advertising blitz, according to the Nebraska Examiner, in hopes of overturning a proposed new tax on digital ads from Governor Jim Pillen, Illin Pillen, as we like to call him. The ads, which started running over the weekend on Nebraska radio and television stations, say the 7.5% excise tax on ads that run on some state broadcasting outlets, as well as social media giants like Facebook and Google, will quote unquote destroy many small businesses by reducing sales and forcing layoffs. The ads urge listeners to contact their senators, saying, quote unquote, Nebraska needs to create jobs, not tax businesses to death. LB 388, which is Pillen's tax plan, comes up for final approval tomorrow. So there is time, the final day of the 2024 session, and possibly even a special session. So we'll keep our eyes on that. But again, as of tomorrow, there will be the opportunity for final approval of this bill. So again, if this is something that you're against, you might want to reach out to your senators. Again, there's little hope of a last minute amendment. That's according to Jim Tim, who's the president and ED of the Nebraska Broadcasters Association. According to Tim, state legislators could, at the last second, defeat LB 388 and leave the tax debate for later. possibly even a special session. And the tax on digital ads applies only to companies with quote unquote combined gross advertising revenue of more than a billion. So again, which would aim squarely at platforms like Google, Facebook that run advertising. So again, if you are a small business and you advertise with companies that take in more than a billion, which are the giants, Google, Facebook, possibly TikTok if they're still around, again, you could be getting taxed extra on those ads. I'm kind of curious. I know we do have a few business owners in the chat. How many of you run ads? How many of you, kind of partake in that as far as running social media ads for your business, things like that? And do you feel like this will impact you as a broadcaster? Paul, what say you?
First of all, I want to give a shout out to Jim Tim. That's the coldest old,
I knew,
that's the,
I
that's
knew,
the coldest old head name I heard in a minute. My name Jim Tim.
I knew you was gonna say somebody's name.
Jim Tim. Um, yeah, man. I mean, this is the we've been having an ongoing conversation about this situation with obviously we would love to have property taxes lowered for people, especially in a world of them going up so many hundreds of percents right now.
Man,
So yeah, it would be great. But again, the question is where do you find the money? And it's always funny. It's just like they say when you voting with your dollars, which I think is a pretty interesting thing.
hmm,
You vote with your dollars. So anytime you
hmm.
spend money, if you spend money on Pepsi, you voting for sugar water. You know what I'm saying? And so it's really interesting when you think about all the areas. I talked about this before. It seemed like he was taxing vices, and
Cigarettes,
it's,
candy.
it's hard for me to separate like this the kind of Republican agenda when it comes to what decisions they make on what stuff to tax. There is a war on journalism. There is a war on media. They're
Hmm.
trying to shut TikTok down. All this stuff to me is very relevant for individuals who are doing stuff like trying to tax stuff like where did they even come up with the idea? Let's tax media ads. So I don't know, man. Like to me, it leaves me in this kind of abstract position here in my mind where I'm just like, is it part of their agenda? Like what? But you know what I'm saying? I don't know. So it's really kind of interesting to me. And of course, all the stuff that the article talks about how this will affect small businesses. This affects our business. We're a small business that does digital ads. So like,
Man,
so
yeah.
yeah, this is it's a tough one. And more and more and more just trying to put the reins around social media, trying to make social media be a not be a public thing, but a thing that is being controlled everywhere. I mean, there's a lot to it for me, so I think it's worth it. I thought that we were kind of done looking through the list of things that he was trying to pull money from for this bill, but I was a little surprised this morning about this digital media deal. I actually didn't hear about it.
Really?
So yeah, I hadn't heard about it till I saw the article. So I didn't really even know that the media was out here doing a blitz and the whole nine. So
Oh yeah.
I don't have TV and stuff like that, so I didn't see those commercials. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I'm kind of curious. Has anyone else seen the commercials? Have you come across that? Have you seen that? And again, what are your thoughts? I'm definitely interested in seeing how this plays out because yeah, this will impact a lot of people because yeah,
yeah,
print advertising isn't really, I mean, it's still a thing, but it's not as much as digital. Like digital is where it's at right now, especially giants like Facebook and Google, who of course would be the target of this. As to where your question about where this came from, that's a good question. And usually, when we look at bills, we kind of find that they're copying other states or there's, other states that's out there doing it.
right,
But this doesn't really seem to be the case with this. According to Julie Slama, who is a lawyer and senator, she argued that the only other state that had tried this was Maryland. So
mm,
again, not many other states, and apparently, according to Slama, Maryland has been tied up in court by multiple lawsuits that made it no sense for Nebraska to pass a similar bill that would basically be constitutionally suspect at best. So again, yeah, if this does pass, there could be some groundwork for lawsuits to come from maybe either the giants like Facebook and Google, which does have server centers and locations in Nebraska, or the small businesses themselves coming together. So
right.
yeah, could see more challenge.
Yeah, jumping in the chat, Mama God is kind of saying some stuff. She's saying, "Stay woke. GOP is setting the stage to stifle, if not eliminate, democracy." And, when I think about that digital ad space, what we know about the digital ad space is that Facebook and Google and all those guys took over the digital ad space so strongly that actual newspapers have gone out of business. Actual other news outlets and channels have gone out of business because they relied on ad revenue that now Facebook and Google are taking the lion's share of. And so they already are struggling. That's already a taken away of the fourth estate, taken away of something that can keep track of what's going on in your neighborhoods. They're your local paper. They were already struggling trying to figure out how to keep news going and make money in news, and so that you can keep the news flowing and keep the watchdogs on you and everything else that needs to happen.
Mm.
And we kind of been switching our strategy over to content creation. The content creator camp was all about this too. Like we're saying utilize social media. Go ahead and pay for ads. Anybody in the chat pay for ads? Did anybody in the business ever pay for a Facebook ad or a YouTube ad in order to boost your business? Yeah, this is going to affect a lot of stuff down the line. I want to
Yeah.
jump into the chat. Wanda Lewis is saying they want to put a charge on Twitter if you're new to it.
Mm.
It said they only want to charge for 3 months, contemplating starting in September. Very interesting. Um, Also, Black Dynamite said we call him JT for short. Man, Jim Tim, come on, Jim
Jim
Tim.
Tim.
Also, Rose Review says it's not a it's not a property tax break. It's a property tax shift. So
Mm.
it's just a shift. It's not like it's going to reduce a whole lot in the first place. And as we talked about the other day, he's looking for 1 billion, and they only have 300 million with these cuts he's talking about. So
Yeah.
he's not even getting the budget he's looking for to reduce that.
True.
Mr.
True.
Eric Bell says, I feel like I remember Jim Tim. I feel like I remember Jim Tim. Used to be in front of the liquor store back in the day. I give him $1 for good luck and old school wisdom. Jim Tim.
Oh god. I knew as soon as I read his name, I was just like, ah. Internally, I was just like, ah.
Tony Johnson in the chat says, but which political groups in Nebraska will run businesses that use digital ads the most? Are they taxing themselves now? I mean,
It's a good
everybody
point.
has to. Everybody got to use it.
Can't get around it.
But especially during election season. That's all they're doing is spending digital dollars.
Man. Now that's a great point.
So I'm saying they spend. Who can afford that? Who got PACs that got billions of dollars in order for them to spend on ads? So the little man is not going to be able to spend as much on ads. Miss Erica Feld says WWT ran a commercial last night against ad tax, and I had to Google what they were mad about.
Yep.
There you go. Rose Review says, what's the word of the day, Mr. Rhythm DC Cab? Clinton Kimmer says, good morning, y'all. Good morning to you. We look forward to speaking with you soon.
Yep.
Also, Wanda Lewis says the obituaries is the only thing free to the public. However, family and funeral homes has to pay. Man.
Mm.
Heather Williams gives us a good morning, everyone. Appreciate you coming on in. Ms. Erica Feld says, I had a World Herald ad back in the day and used to advertise in the coffee shop news sheets. I advertised in San Francisco Examiner paper back in the day, but nothing in about 15 years. Okay, so you thriving with the word of mouth, but you in the industry that's so that everybody needs they need childcare so bad. Everybody's scrambling for it, so you don't have to do too many ads. It sounds like. But a lot of people. I know there's people in the chat that have businesses that are definitely doing that. We've definitely done that. I mean, that's really the only thing to do. I just talked to Calvin Williams. We're going to have him on Friday. As a matter of fact,
Mm-hmm.
he's the one that with Freedom Tainment. He's going to be the one that's doing the concerts out there at Malcolm X Memorial Foundation this summer. And he was saying that too, that he has to pay for his digital ads, his geo targeting as well. Um, and we talked a lot about advertising and how to kind of get the word out. So, yeah, I think it's really interesting, especially during political season. All this is kind of interesting. I don't want to make too big of a deal of it because I know it affects us directly. So I don't want to like take up the whole show talking about it, like
Man, we
because it's
could.
on my mind.
We could. Get your hand out of my pocket.
For real though. But yeah, I love the fact it's an ongoing conversation. We talked about some of the things that they were going to tax on this thing before. So yeah, it's just all really, really interesting, man. What they decide, what they decide to tax, like what they
Yeah.
decide deserves. It's just a trip. It reminds me of like the restaurant tax that just happened back in the day, and bars are being taxed more, and it's just interesting. Like where can we go get some money from? Well, I I, I want to send those. I want to send those officers over to the border in California, in Texas, so we can stop the Mexicans from coming in.
Man.
So let's not take money out of that fund. Let's tax. Let's how about digital ads? This will slow down our competition for running for office.
Or the candy, gotta
Strat.
stop the candy. Gotta stop the candy.
So
Yeah,
we
very interesting.
gotta ask Jim Tim what to do. That's
What we gonna do, Jim Tim?
what we're gonna
Uh,
do.
also, to your point, though, again, this conversation is nowhere near being done. Even if especially if we get some senators to challenge tomorrow, then the likelihood of this going to a special session shoots up. And also, to your point, as you mentioned earlier, the governor is looking for $1 billion. Even with these changes that we're talking about, it's only about 250 to 300 million that will actually bring in tax revenue to the state. So we're still, a good 700 million dollars short of what the governor is looking for. So where else could they be possibly taking the money? I definitely think this is something should continue to look at.
Well, my mind goes to how much is the taxes going to be lowered?
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? If
Mhm.
he's not if the plan is that he wants $1 billion to lower the taxes, and we kind of have an idea of how it's going to be lowered. If he only makes it to 300 million, then how much is the taxes actually going to be lowered? So we.
Also,
Mhm.
I have another thought about that. As far as what is the tax formula anyway? Because we just talked about the property value going up. So how much? To your point, even if they do find the billions in tax cuts, how much will the taxes really go down if the property value is going up? You talk about it. What was it? The median is $1 million for homes nowadays.
$1 million in the country, and that's yeah. So yeah, I mean, in Nebraska, you're looking at 250, 300,000. I mean, and it's constantly going up. It's constantly going up. So you're right. Just this, the purchase of the homes in the first place, the taxes on stuff is skyrocketed. Like I say, I got family members that were paying a few $100s, and all of a sudden now they're paying a few $1,000s, like
Man,
over the course of a year. So taxes have gone up. I look at this whole thing in the first place. Like, there's not a whole lot of ownership in North and South Omaha. There's a lot. There's more than people think, but there's not a whole lot. There's a whole lot of renters in North and South Omaha. And so, first of all, the bill, first of all, is benefiting homeowners. Reminds me kind of back in the day when you couldn't even, back in the day, you had to be a white landowner to even vote. So
man.
it's still one of them. It still feels like that. Like, this is they're doing this because they want to they want to lower taxes on property taxes. Who's the biggest property owners around? Why is this such a priority? And why would you be taking money from smaller businesses in order to do that? Just saying. My
Good
name is
question.
Jim Tim. I approve this message.
And that's a mic drop. And that's a mic drop. Well, again, we'll definitely keep our eyes on this whole situation.
Word up. Marcel Moreno gives us a good morning. Good morning. Ray Vincent gives us a good morning. Appreciate you.
Hey,
Man, Guillermo Enrique Pina Valadera says good morning. Good morning to you as well. So why do you need why you need house parties? Man, we used to throw rent parties back in the day, man. Pay that rent.
man, might need to bring them back. Tax parties.
Tax parties, for real. Ms. Circumfield says, when doing my taxes, I learned if you buy a home in designated blighted area and live in the home, you get an $8,000 tax credit the first year.
To that point, I read in an article recently that there's actually millions and millions of dollars in tax credits that are not claimed every year.
Wow.
So yeah, again, a lot of you, especially if you own homes, if you run a business, if you live near a school, all of these things, yeah, there are tax credits that come with that. Um, and yeah, a high percentage, 40 to 50 to possibly even 60 in some instances, percent of people not claiming those tax credits. So yeah, again, I know it might be a little too late for some of you who have already filed your taxes. Again, the deadline was on the 15th, so hopefully a lot of you got it in, and hopefully a lot of you claim those tax credits, because yeah, there's millions and millions of dollars in the state that goes unclaimed every year.
Interesting stuff. We'll definitely keep on talking about it. I appreciate everybody's comments on this. Mama God said, love it, hump day shenanigans.
Jim
Yeah.
Tim, Jim Tim, Slim Jim Tim.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and let's move on to another story. We definitely, if you're just joining us, we have a special guest coming on. Miss Kimara Snipes will be on a little bit, and so we'll look forward to speaking with her. Get your questions and comments ready, and we got a lot of stuff to check in with her on for sure. But it's a pretty interesting news day. I hope you're sticking around and continue and contributing to the conversation as well. Do us a favor, share the show. If you're on your Facebook or YouTube page, share the show so other people can come in right now and jump into the conversation. It's always good to see some new names in the chat, but it's even better to see chat chimers that's been here with us from the jump coming in and continuing the conversation. So it makes me feel like we ain't the only two people getting up doing this all the time.
Yeah.
We actually got some folks that get up with us and do it every time too. So that's what's up.
Yeah, yeah. Big shout out to all of y'all, man. We appreciate you. We love you as always. So yeah, let's continue the conversation. Continue to let your mind be free, let your voice be heard, and continue to get down to the nitty gritty of these things. So
Yeah.
in the meantime, between time, let's go ahead and jump into the next story as we prepare for our guest coming up a little later on in the show.
Mm-hmm.
But Paul, you mentioned something that really sparked my interest on and you kind of made a point that I don't think you knew you was making as far as saying people vote, with their dollars. People vote with their dollars, and according to this Nebraska Examiner article, that's going to be a big turning point, a big issue in this upcoming presidential election.
Ooh.
Going to the national level, headline reads from Nebraska Examiner: Black voters were key to Biden's 2020 win, but money woes make some question their support in 2024. Again, this article actually starts talking about a sister in Cleveland who's caregiver, and driver Jennifer Garner, who lives in Cleveland. She is a 46 and can bring in about $800 a week working extra hours at both jobs. Again, being a caregiver and driver. But between debt payments on $56,000 in student loans and about $1,300 in rent, which a lot of people are dealing with, among other monthly bills, money doesn't really go far. She voted for Biden in 2020, but says now she's researching other candidates, although she has ruled out former President Donald Trump. However, black voters overwhelmingly supported Biden in 2020 and were key to his win. But as many like Garner struggle to make ends meet, there is some evidence that black voters' enthusiasm for Biden may be slipping, and Trump is hoping to capitalize on that. I'm sure a lot of you have seen his recent videos and his visit down here to Atlanta. Yeah, very interesting. He spoke out last month at a meeting of the Black Conservative Federation, and he argues that black voters were better off financially when he was in office. Even if black voters don't buy that message, voters' frustration could result in them turning to a third party candidate, according to Cornell Belcher, who's a pollster who worked for Barack Obama and spoke with the New York Times. Of course, the counter Trump, it always seems like it's down to Trump and Biden, although there are other candidates. Shout out to, again, Dr. Cornell West. But the Biden campaign is spending millions, catch this, on radio ads and swing states at black owned and Latino owned radio stations to point out the administration's accomplishments, including investments and HBCUs through grant funding for the American Rescue Plan Act. Again, Garner, who's a sister in this article, says, I have to work 2 jobs overtime just to even try to cover my rent, which means I have no time to be able to enjoy life. The only way things are going to get better is if people start talking and just let them know the economy sucks. We need better jobs and more money. So again, it's not just the economic uplifting that we are talking about with LB 1024 in Nebraska, but this is nationwide. People are feeling this impact. Actually, especially black voters, according to January poll from NBC News, about 75% of black voters said they would vote for Biden in the general election this year. In 2020, that was down from 92% of black voters who said they would cast their vote for Biden. That's according to a Pew Research Center report. So again, it's very interesting. We're talking about this whole state where we are as a people, as a nation. Again, a lot of people kind of chiming up about the economy. Of course, it doesn't take, the economy doesn't change overnight. So it's definitely worth a debate whether it's Biden or Trump or who's responsible for where we are in this economy. But again, where are you feeling? Where are you standing as far as the economy and how it impacts your vote? A lot of people are kind of blaming Trump. At least conversations that I'm hearing, or not Trump, but Biden. Conversations that I'm hearing as far as the economy, who people feel is responsible for the economy is. But I think one thing that everybody can agree on is the economy needs improving. Something need to shake very soon, very soon. And again, I hear a lot of you in the chat speaking up and chiming up about how unsatisfied you are with Dems and things like that. So I mean, does that mean you're going to vote for Trump? What does that mean? Where do you stand?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Love to hear from you on what you think about that, and if you did, if the economy is a big reason why you vote in the first place, if that's one of the deciding factors on who it is you're going to choose. So, love to hear about that. Yeah, saw an article well, I actually heard a news piece the other day about they did a poll. They did some research on how much it costs to live comfortably in this country,
Mhm.
and it was up to $105,000 a
A
year
year?
that you need to have in order to be able to live comfortably in this country, which is not rich in this country, but to be able to afford the market rate of housing and rents, and to buy food, and to be able to have some insurance, and be able to have a small savings, and be able to all that stuff.
Mhm.
Right now, I'm looking at an article CNBC's. It says the national median for living comfortably alone is $89,461 a year. And yeah, I can attest to that. There's been times in my work career where I was making 85, 90 grand, and I was thinking that got enough money to do some things. After that rent though, after first of all, after the taxes get
Yeah.
pulled out of that, because you're in a tax bracket now of right now we're at 22%. If you make over 45,000 dollars a year, then your tax bracket jumps from a 12% federal to 22%. So they're taking a lot of your check the higher up you go as well,
Mhm.
until you reach a certain point, and then and then it works out better for people who have more money, of course. But yeah, so it's not a lot of money. It's not a lot when you think about one bedroom at $1,100, two bedrooms in Omaha. This is in Omaha. We're talking about two bedrooms at $1,600-$1,700 apartments. So it's tough, and this is for this is, of course, we're talking about living in places that are not economically depressed. All in all, and then I'm not going to go into. We can talk all the rest of the show about the price of food right now, and,
Man,
and what's weighing everybody down. So
man.
tough, tough, tough.
There's
I'm gonna.
actually
Mhm.
to that point, there's actually an article talking about Democrats launching an investigation into grocery stores and supply chains and the price of food and inflation on that. Yeah, there's a lot of a lot of conversation happening around that actually. Price of food and just products in stores in general.
Big time, big time. Mama guy in the chat says Biden keeps trying to forgive student loans, blocked every time.
Man,
We still have that bill. Yeah. Also, Miss Erica Fell said something interesting. She said Muslims are the key to him winning. Talking about Trump, said they control Michigan votes, and he needs that state. Interesting.
mm.
Okay.
Is it Trump or Biden? Because
Hmm.
Biden's whole stance on the unrest that was going on in Palestine. Um, a lot of Muslims are not very happy with Biden about the amount of funds that and support that the United States has sent out to Israel.
Hmm.
And that might be a point that can hurt Biden in this
Totally.
election.
Right on. In the chat, Mother Pena says, "Do you remember we are a capitalist system? Private enterprising controls much of our food systems through grocery store chains and other agricultural conglomerates." He says, "We can start by saying Tyson, Cargill, and the list goes on. We mentioned how many agricultural own the land. Yeah, I definitely say that. Also, he says also private parts are uh, are holding the chain of the economy hostage still, and people have forgotten about that. We just don't talk about it enough, and I can't be the sole voice reminding everybody about it."
Okay.
Yeah, good point.
Well, thank you for reminding us.
Yeah, for real. Tony Johnson has a great point too. He says only radio in Nebraska talking politics and news are the conservative ones. Black news and politics need to ramp up podcast and radio shows. There you go.
We're trying our
Uh,
best.
Yeah, man. We're trying to bring a different kind of awareness for sure. Miss Erica says a friend that is anti-Biden sat up and tried to figure out what would get us to vote for the Cheeto. We came up with nothing, but had a laugh fest trying. That's what's up. Oh man. So yeah, appreciate everybody that's jumping in the chat here. Tony Johnson also says only option is to vote blindly among party line or spend tons of time trying to get info on state and local politics. Info is hard to find.
It
Uh,
is. It is.
mhm.
And, that's kind of my thought as far as, what options do we have? Yeah, again, a lot of you are chiming up and have chimed up a lot about how unhappy you are with Democrats and the whole Democratic Party. But I'm sure, a lot of you aren't happy with Trump either. So I am kind of, how long will this voting for the lesser of two evils, like, how long will this last before people just stop voting altogether? Or where will this go? Will people continue to vote just on the options that they're given, even against their own interests?
Yeah. Good question, and we'll go ahead and ask this question to our special guest that's waiting in the wings, who just this year decided to step away from the Democratic Party. So let's talk to her. Yeah,
Good
ladies
point,
and
good
gentlemen,
point.
Miss Kimara Snipes in the chat. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Hey, hey, what's happening?
I'm nothing much. I'm a little tired this morning.
We
She
tired,
tired, boss.
man. We
Hmm.
tired. We tired too. I'm Jim Tim. I'm always tired.
Yeah.
I like your hair. You got the mohawk
Yeah,
going on today. That's
I like
fresh.
Yeah.
that.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Thank
Very
you.
biker. I love it. I love it.
Switch up every now and then.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you
Uh,
want to jump into. I know you got comments, but before we get to them, self care. Self care. How you doing? How you feeling? What's going
uh
on with you?
oh, I will not act as if though I am someone who is great at it, right?
Hmm.
But I have been doing my best to like go walking when I canceled my gym membership
Hmm.
because Planet Fitness ticked me off, and I told
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
them they treat me like that, and I told them cancel my contract now.
Mm.
Um, but
How do you do that? Because I be trying to cancel it too, and I'm like, you got to
I
go
think
up in there and
they just
wave a gun and
recognize,
do what you got to do to get a huh.
I think they just recognize from the energy in the room that it was probably best that they just cancel my stuff immediately.
Mm.
I didn't yell at anybody, but you know how some folks try to treat us as Black women and act
Mm.
as though when we elevate an issue that we're automatically angry and hostile and all these different things. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh. So two other people in the gym told me that the way this person was treating me, she had also treated them. And they suggested that I report it because I wasn't even going to do it. I was like, you know what? You're right. And so I did. And it just kind of went from there. They didn't want to hear my side or anything like that. So I was like, okay, screw Planet Fitness. And I'm going to tell everybody what y'all doing. And I'm going to call your corporate office. But anyway,
There
uh,
you go, people. That's self care in the Black community right there, calling folks out and complaining about some things because
Yeah,
we get treated bad, and we so many times that we forget sometimes to go ahead and complain. Go ahead and say something. Speak up.
still give people our money too.
Right.
that
Yeah.
part. That
Yeah.
No.
part.
And so I'm looking for other avenues now. I'm like, well, dang, everybody else like $60 a month. Okay. So looking for some other avenues, but it's starting to get warmer outside. I told my club, I said we can do more than like party when we get together. We can get together and go walking
There you
and
go.
do these other things. And I've been switching up like in the morning, every morning. I don't do nothing but have a bunch of fruit for breakfast.
There you
And
go.
it was also my diet as well. So just different things like that, just trying to be better. And that also comes with making sure that we're like going to our doctor's appointments and different things like that too. So
Health as well.
better like that. I think that for women, especially women who people period, not just women, women and men who find themselves busy, especially people who are trying to support community, like we need support systems for that. You know what
That's
I'm saying?
true.
Because we just automatically go into help mode all the time and we
Hmm.
often forget about ourselves. So I'll be very honest. Like I tell my friend, I told Whitney and everybody else, like, y'all wanna go walking? I wanna go walking. Can we go do something else? You know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's the self-care piece. I have been like it's warmer now again, so starting to go to the lake again. I've been going up to Cunningham too. I went there on the day of the eclipse. I love scenery, so
Yeah.
that's helpful for me. And I've been down to Kansas City a couple of times just to hang out and have fun over the month. So stuff like that. Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
good.
important to work it in. All the work you're doing, you got to work on yourself too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we obviously have plenty of things to talk about with you today, and we were just talking about this situation about Black folks, what we gonna do as far as who we going getting behind traditionally has been Democrats, but we've been hearing this year a lot of folks like not happy with that. A lot of folks saying they're gonna vote the other way, and not really a whole lot of other alternatives. Luckily, we had Dr. Cornell West come out here just recently. Shout out to Anthony Rogers Wright and the work he was doing on that. That gave me a little bit of, oh, there is one. There is another candidate. There is somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Gave me a little bit
Yeah.
of a rest of cognitive load of these two just being a two person party all the time, and that was the only thing that kind of refreshed me a little bit. But we all know the majority. I think the majority of the people are going to go one way or the other. So knowing that you took a different turn in your party affiliation, let us know what your thoughts are on this.
So I did. And so full disclosure, last November, I think it was, it might have been October, I went to the Douglas County Democratic Party meeting, and I asked the chair, who was CJ King, I said, what were your fundraising goals for the year? Because it's 2023, next year is a general election. And his response was that, oh, well, we didn't really have any. And I was just like, what am I doing? Right? Because if you're not fundraising, what are you doing? Because candidates need support. So I was just like, you know what? Forget all this. I'm done. And I left. And I at that time too, I think it was October, I really wasn't even thinking about all the way running yet. There's some things that had happened during the last school board year that kind of put it on my mind. One of the school board members, actually the one whose seat I'm running for now, she's not running again. But she had made a statement to teachers, and I was like, what? That didn't sit right with me. So I kind of started thinking about it. But then I've been having conversations with other people too, and nobody really understands. I don't think people don't understand, but I don't think that what happens within schools gets enough credit, I guess. People, it's not taken serious. I think that's the reason why school board members don't get paid. I think that's where teachers don't get paid enough. I don't think they take it serious. And I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who's a business owner, and we were talking about the importance of schools. I talk about asset-based community development. People are assets, right? People at one time are also children. And children as assets also have to be cultivated. And one of the major places that happens at is in schools, right? Our children grow up and become a part of the workforce. Our children grow up and become business owners, or they end up in another institution that we don't want to talk about, right? So I think there is a lot to school board. And I mentioned it last time, having this different level of learning, excited to go back. But, running for office is expensive. There are fees and different things involved, access that you need. And so I had a very serious conversation with a few people. I talked to Precious as well. And so I did go back, and I've been very honest in telling people I need access, and I don't want to pay for that access. So through a member as a Democratic Party, I have that access. But I'm also very honest in that I feel okay saying that, because I have been a member of this party for I don't know how long, and my skills and abilities have been utilized by this party. So I'm going to come in here and take advantage of what I can take advantage of, to be the best, I guess, candidate I can be. But I got major problems with the Democratic Party. And they know this. I'm not shy about it. I've always been open and honest about it. And I think it's just what's been happening here locally. The whole parking ordinance thing, I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it that Festerson, Begley, and Hug, although Hug, I guess I can kind of believe it, would, and I say that because Vinny actually started that before Hug even got there. And so I think he was just trying to make sure that happened. But I did hear yesterday from one of my board members, Yesenia Valenzuela, she's on my board. We put her onto the board actually in January. I felt it was very important to have somebody who's from the mayor office on the board. And she was telling me that the mayor actually is, I forgot the words that she used. I put it in Friends of First Guy, but she's not going to do the parking ordinance.
She vetoed it.
She's not, veto. She didn't use the word veto, but that's what I was thinking. Vetoed it basically. So I was very, very happy about that. I was over in South Omaha yesterday at Grandma Harris' house, and that's not my grandma, but that's what I call her. Over by the projects, and there are 5 adults who live in that house there are people who are parking on the grass. She has a whole extra lot at her home. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you talk about the impact on people. And my whole thing was it wasn't so much just about the parking ordinance. That's always been there. Right. But before you got like an email or a letter in the mail, now it's like the police showing up at your house.
Yeah.
That's the problem I have with it because now we're increasing the number of instances people have with the police, and we
Right.
know what happens when that happens.
Yeah, we
So,
talked about that the other day. That was the heavy point of contention there. And I was very surprised that Mayor Stothert went ahead and vetoed that. But I'm kind of anxious to find out. Kind of want to know why, because of course we're saying, well, it's election season.
well,
So,
you know what? I actually think it's a staffing thing. Now,
hmm,
I haven't talked to anybody. This will be my guess because in order for police to do it, it has to be police who do it.
Yeah.
And what I've heard is that they're understaffed. So how are you going to have enough police to even do something like that?
Well,
That's
actually,
my logical sort of thinking, but
the Omaha World Herald did release an article talking about the details. If you don't mind, real quick, I get into it. I definitely would like to get your reaction to that because you kind of have one of the more visceral responses to getting that news about that, as far as why Mayor Stothert vetoed it. According to the Omaha World Herald, apparently Stothert had 3 issues with the ordinance as to why she vetoed. And I will say, although she vetoed, she did say that she would support kind of restructuring of the ordinance, so we could still see something of this effect come, and it will get Stothert's support. But according to this article, and there were 3 issues, one of which was the fact that it did not include vehicles with expired tags. So she wants tags or vehicles with expired tags to also be included in this ordinance as it stands. Again, it was only storage of registered operable vehicles on grass that were able to get fined, but she wants all vehicles parked on grass to get fined. She says storage of unregistered vehicles on grass is as unsightly to neighbors as vehicles with current registrations and the subject of hundreds of complaints annually. She also says the ordinance is unclear as far as who enforces it, kind of to, Sister Kimara, what you were just saying, because this has already been a code. The major change, of course, as you mentioned, is the fact that the police now has the ability to issue those fines. But again, Mayor Stothert is bringing up the question of who will, I guess, receive the complaints. Will complaints go to the code inspectors and then they will call police, or will the complaints go directly to the police? If one code outweighs the other, who would decide which department responds? So there's not clarification on that. She also wants the exception for holidays to be eliminated. She says the exception in the ordinance for holidays must be eliminated. So again, to your point, Councilman Hug introduced the ordinance to combat what he says is the most frequent complaint that he receives, and he says that he will take into consideration Mayor Stothert's changes and will represent the bill. So there you go. There you go. We'll have some changes.
yeah, yeah. It was kind of too good to be true. When we read the headline.
Like I
Uh,
said, slow your roll. Slow your
yeah,
roll.
yeah.
Get
That's real.
excited,
That's
but
real.
hey.
Well, it wasn't any excitement about the decision. To me, it was just a surprise. But I should have known there was something behind that surprise. What are you saying, Miss Snipes?
no, I'm just thinking,
Response?
I'm always trying to find the glass half full perspective. So it
Okay.
does mean that since they have to looks like redo it,
Mm-hmm.
there's time for us to be talking to some of these
Oh,
decision makers,
true.
There you go.
right? There's time to organize. And so we know what the goal is, right? We got to figure out, what the considerations are, but we also know who our targets are. When I say target, I don't mean a negative thing.
Mm-hmm.
Target is terminology and organizing, decision maker, I should say. So
Mm-hmm.
there's time for that to happen. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
that is something to think about.
Definitely want to jump into the chat here real quick. We got some folks that are chiming up a little bit. Also, even earlier in the chat, Angie Lawrence in the chat. Good morning. Says corporate
Hey.
greed and increased profits and CEO pay helps to keep prices on grocery shelf and other necessities high. Also, just want to acknowledge that part of the conversation we were talking about how high prices are affecting everything right now. C. Larkin in the chat said, "I did during late night." So I'm thinking she was saying that when you were talking about self care, taking walks, and some things of that nature as well. Also, a couple of folks in the chat talking about Planet Fitness. Everybody kind of going in. Everybody had the same kind of bad experience. Sounds
Man.
like. Uh,
Yeah.
Also, Angel in Starks is in the chat. Good morning. Says
Hey.
hit
Hi,
these
Angel.
trails. Hit these trails, black girls trekking. Celeste Butler.
Hey.
Yes.
Celeste Butler be taking groups of ladies out on these trails. I appreciate her very much.
There you
Also,
go.
back on the subject of what we're talking about here, as far as black folks voting, Anthony Rogers Wright says Biden as an agenda for black Nebraskans, keeping them on the DNC plantation and expecting us to forget all the damage he's done to our communities and families. So
Mm.
that's a heavy one. Also, later on down the way, looks like he also said it's time for black people to understand that the Dem Party only cares about us every 2 to 4 years. 1 minute they're begging us to save democracy, the next they are stabbing us in the back. Even
Mm.
Obama did less for black people than Trump and other Republicans. It's time for our people to get and stay off the DNC plantation. To that point too, one I saw Gwen Easter. Gwen Easter said, "If I have to choose between Biden and Trump, I'll choose Trump." So
Mm.
appreciate you chiming up about your choice there. Also, Mama God says, "So is she saying no to parking on holidays too?" Yeah, we got to dig
Yep.
into.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, man. Gwen Easter said, "Only Democrat I'm voting for is Senator McKinney."
Mm.
Interesting. Anthony Rogers Wright is replying. I'm gonna do that one last, and I'll jump to you. Says you don't have to choose between Biden and Trump, though. That's the whole point. We need to smash the duopoly and begin a new era of U.S. policy. So, with that, I'll shift it over to you. I know that you have some thoughts, Miss Snipes.
Yeah, I do actually. You asked the question before I came on of how do you change that? And I'll just, my thought, I know people are like, oh, she's gonna say neighborhoods. But here's the thing.
It's
Um,
true.
I had never had a thought about running for office before.
Mm,
I joined Highland South Indian Hill. Actually, the lady I was talking about, Grandma Harris, she's the one who invited me, right?
mm-hmm,
And it was all these little old ladies together. We were getting together every single month. And through that, we're creating what I talk about, that meaningful sense of community ownership, right? They showed me that. And so through that, that was 2006, 2008, almost, I think it was, I started going to Sona to represent Highland South Indian Hill, okay?
mm-hmm,
That's where I met Heath Mello. That's where I met Gary Granat. That's where I met Mike Boyle. That's where I met all these people who were decision makers for me. And so I'm doing this every single month, not even knowing that it's building my capacity. It's empowering me. And I'm also being informed about what's happening in the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
So through that, you hear about these different things that happen in other parts of Omaha, right? So I started attending 360 back in like 2014, 15. You
mm,
see what I'm
Mm.
saying? And building up my network and learning even more about issues that are happening. And because I'm being empowered and seeing that these people are not different than me, that encouraged me. But I also had that lived experience, the information. I became Sona's secretary. I didn't just boom come in and become the president. No, I was a secretary for a few years, still learning, still understanding, still
mm-hmm.
figuring out how to navigate government. Became their vice president, then their president. You see what I'm saying? So through all those years, I was built up as a candidate.
Right.
Just
Mm-hmm.
boom, become a candidate. And that's not just something that Kimara Snipes can do. That's something many people can do. And we know this because the secretary before me at Sona, elected official. The secretary after me, elected official.
Right.
You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Grown into that at the same time. And so we have to home grow our elected officials. And we have to start at the local level, build these school board members, build these county commissioners, build the county clerks, all of that. We have to start at the local level and build them. And it takes time. It's very rare that somebody comes along and they're just, boom, this great candidate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we know there's a lot behind the scenes. Anybody just popping up like that.
Yeah.
Appreciate you saying that, and just reminding people that you're running for school board, and that is coming up as well, and in your progression of running for things. We often talk about that, trying to get people in the seats, because
Yeah.
that's really what's going to matter. But not to stray too far away from this conversation. Is part of that. I think it's a major part of that conversation. So it's just I think, especially for Black folks, we're wondering, like, where do we go with this? We talk to a lot of folks, and yeah, run, and who you gonna get with in order to get to have your back to run? Who are you gonna affiliate yourself with? Where's your allies at? Who is it that we're out here thinking is going to solve problems or not solve problems? We got everybody in the chat. I see Willie Hamilton in the chat right now. Black Men United saying, giving us a good morning. Appreciate you.
Peace. Peace. Peace.
Yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? We got organizations, we got leaders in the chat. We got people that are running campaigns for national presidential race. We got folks in the chat, man, and I still feel like sometimes we're feeling like there's a lot of I don't know what I'm gonna do. And we having this, and we especially are having this conversation constantly, 2 hours a day, 3 days a week, for weeks and
Hmm.
months at a time, and still trying to get a grasp on what the black community is doing. With again going back to the fact that you stepped away, you had some problems with the Democratic Party. Like I don't want to put you on the spot, but I want to say, what's your advice? What is it that you think we ought to be doing?
I mean, we have to be informed, first of all.
Hmm.
We just have to be informed. I mean, you can't make decisions without information. Really, the options are, start something else, which is very difficult, or rebuild from within. Now, when you start talking about that, are you talking about local level, like in the county? Are
Right.
you talking about the state level? Or are you talking about the national level? I'm not talking about
Hmm.
the level. I have no connection there whatsoever.
Hmm.
Hmm.
The smartest thing I can think of is there is a black caucus. You know what I'm saying? And when
Hmm.
we
Didn't
start
you
talking,
run that
now,
for some
I
time?
did, I did until I got elected to the school board, and I chose to step down because it was just going to be too much.
Hmm.
Mm.
Much. But there is the Black Caucus. And when we start talking about numbers of people, right? If you have enough people coming together to do something, you can do anything. I don't care what anybody say.
Yep.
And so I
As mentioned
think
was
that,
available.
getting people, like-minded people together, informing them, and then together making a decision about a next step. The next steps to me, the options are starting your own, redoing what's already there.
Yeah.
I don't really know what else, to say that's realistic, right?
Yep.
Right. Right. Right.
To speaking of Black Caucus real quick, Tony Johnson in the chat earlier said he was pushed out for asking too many questions about an ineffective Black Caucus and lacked a sincere interest for Black voters. You,
Of the Black Caucus.
Yeah.
uh,
Okay.
yeah, I was trying to. I was That's what I was going to ask. Are you saying that you were pushed out of the Black Caucus, or you were pushed away from asking the questions? And Tony Johnson and some others bring this up from time to time. I'm thinking about how many times we have had interaction with the Black Caucus at all. You're our only link to it, and you haven't been there. You know what I'm saying? So, so begs the question: what is the Black Caucus doing?
So the Black Caucus does exist. Pastor Janet Goodman Banks from Lincoln runs it.
Mm.
Um, I love Pastor Banks, and maybe, I mean, when I ran the Black Caucus, it wasn't just Kimara. I had a whole team. Do you
Right.
hear me? Like a whole team, not just a team. I also had advisors.
Mm.
Elijah Ali was one of my advisors when I was on Black Caucus. We
Hmm.
met often. Several people. We had created a whole Black agenda. We had everything. And so it takes a
Mm.
team. And so maybe it's a matter of, now that I am back, and I did reach out to Pastor Banks. I need to reach back out to her again. But I really don't have time to be like doing a bunch with the caucus. That was a
Hmm.
problem last time. I told Pastor Banks I would act as a secretary, you know what I'm saying? But like I was busy, yo. Like I just don't have the time to be like, not to be there. Like anybody can take a position, but you can take a position and not really be doing anything, and that's not how
Right.
I like to operate. And so I think maybe it's the conversation of getting together with Black Democrats that do exist and seeing what they want to do with it. Now, when I was the chair of the Black Caucus, and I went and I talked to the Black elected officials we had at that time, and not just Black elected officials and other Black leaders who had been active in history. It was just very much a thing of like we talk about now. Well, you're really doing much for me, this and that, which I
Hmm.
100% get because I've been a Black candidate with the Democratic Party, and I tell them all the time, I'm like one of the best candidates you ever had. Don't play with me. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying?
Hmm.
So, and I know it sounds like bragging, but I know what people tell me. So I'm just going off of that. And so like maybe it's getting these people together and doing some actual like planning. I'm a very big goals person. I don't just say a goal. You know what I'm saying? I state what my goal is. I make the people laugh at the smart goal stuff, but that smart goal stuff is real. I make
Hmm.
sure it's specific. I make sure it's measurable. I make sure it's achievable. You know what I'm saying? I make sure it's timely. I make sure it's all of those things.
Right.
I create the tactics for it, the benchmarks, due dates, and everything. I don't play about planning, and maybe that's just something that needs to happen.
Well, I want to stick on this. Tony Johnson said both. We asked him if he was kicked out or if he was just not allowed to ask questions. He says he was both. Now you cannot find any info or notice of meetings. I want to pull back a little bit on this because I really want to kind of get to what is the action items of the Black Caucus. What from the when the time that you were there, what was being done, not just what was the intent.
So when I was there, we created these committees. We had a workforce sort of labor committee to help around the jobs area. I mean, y'all, this was 2018. I'm trying to remember all this stuff now. Don't do me
Hmm.
like that. But I can go and
No,
find it.
you don't got to you don't got to
Now,
talk you don't got to run down all the programs. I'm just saying, was the Black Caucus reaching out to the Black community? Were we
oh,
meeting with businesses? Were we helping with
meeting
citizens?
with businesses, it hadn't even gotten that far yet. The first thing you have to do is get people. And
Mm,
so when I became chair of the Black Caucus, it was through an emergency election,
mm,
right? The chair who had been there before me, there was just a bunch of chaos, is what it was. So I came in during an emergency election, which was also an election year. So we did throw a fundraiser, but the thing about it for me, the first steps is building out your people. So I had to even get people to feel like they were included, to be very honest with you. And so that's what we were doing. But we had people coming to meetings. Terrell was the second congressional district director for the Black Caucus.
Hmm.
My boy Riley, I know he's a white dude. He wasn't a voting member, but he was the chair of my labor caucus because he worked for the
Hmm.
Department of Labor. Duh.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Elijah and I had talked, and he's the one who helped me really craft my committees that I had. Because it was just being very intentional, trying to deal with that. And my perspective at the time was the Black Caucus was there to support Black community and also somewhat of a shield of a defense when it came to the party because we had been,
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying? And so there was that. Not everybody agreed with that. And that's, everybody's
Wow.
entitled to their opinions. You know what I'm saying? But that's how I felt because again, I had been a part of this party since 2006. You know what I'm saying? And I had things said to me. I had been not supported in my personal opinion. And so that's what I was bringing with me when I was the chair.
Okay, I appreciate it. I don't want to go too far on that. I know Buddy has some other things on his mind, but I just wanted to reiterate that what the Black Caucus is a democratic organization.
Say that
Um,
again. Oh, I'm
that
sorry.
yeah, the Black Caucus Democrats.
yeah, it's
Dem-
a Democratic
Yeah,
Party.
they are
Democratic
Democrats.
Party, and the purpose and the goal and the mission of the Black Caucus is to engage individuals to vote. What is the mission
Right.
here?
It was to basically the mission was basically around supporting Black candidates, identifying Black candidates like that. But for me, I felt like it needed to be more than just
Yeah,
identifying Black candidates, cultivating
no,
Black candidates.
I got that part. I'm just trying to figure out what they are supposed to be doing in the first place. Um,
That's what you said. The
right.
identification of Black candidates, kind of cultivating them, helping to get them elected, things like that.
So that's heavy that
Mm.
they did a little bit of a protection of the Democratic Party too. A little, that
I
that
would
was
say
very
the Black
significant.
Caucus needed to be protected.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
That's what I was saying. That was a barrier that a sort of shield that I was creating because I felt like if I just felt like Black people was getting used by the party.
Yeah.
And so I
Yep.
felt like this was a space for us to also talk about that and what we can do about that. And
Right.
I was saying that not everyone necessarily agreed with that.
Right. Okay. Got it. Anthony Rogers right in the chat says the party did not put Kimmer in the best position to be successful. It was wrong, and another example of how the party uses and extracts from black women.
Mm.
Earlier, he said the Black Caucus did raise a wee bit of money for some candidates, but there was not much more that could be done at the time. The Nebraska Dem Party was in a civil war, and we were caught in the middle of a spat between Jane Cleave and Crystal Rhodes. Oh, I remember this. This is minus old days. It
Mm.
was pathetic and hilarious at once. Okay, I do remember.
Mm.
I do remember what that was the last time we really went in and talked about the Black Caucus and had people on the show at over at the radio station of Mind and Soul. I do
Yeah.
remember that whole spat. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
Oh,
Mhm.
to
kind of
that
forgot,
point,
but yeah.
I, I'm just I'm just listening, and it's just very interesting. A couple observations. One, as a people, and maybe this is a conversation that might be better suited for like Clubhouse or something, Discord. But as a people, it seems like we're very, I'm talking about
Fan
quote
base.
unquote so-called black people,
Right.
very reactionary. No proactivity, no proactivity at all. And you talk about planning and setting, that's all being proactive. This everything we're talking about, very reactionary. Like, when are
Mhm.
we going to get from behind the ball and get ahead of this thing? I mean, to even mentally be proactive, like how far in the future are we thinking? Like, what are we really talking about? So you're talking about, and thank you for laying out a very clear process of how to groom. And I always talk about this. I brought this up with Precious. The Republicans, they are not afraid, and they will groom the next young Republicans. Man, they got that system down pat. They
They get
got
into
the
high
system.
schools right now.
All right, they got the system down pat. But again, how proactive are we being? Not just Democrats, but again, so-called black people.
Yeah.
How proactive are we being? Furthermore, beyond that, what organizations do we have to be proactive? It seems like the Black Caucus, the Commission on African American Affairs. We had Justin Wayne and Senators Justin Wayne and Terrell McKinney reach out to other black elected officials. They were supposed to have a meeting. Don't know what happened with that. Like, where is the functional black leadership? Everybody is wrapped up in turmoil. Paul, you just said the last time we heard from the Black Caucus, at least on our platforms, was when there was drama. So, again, I'm kind of sitting here like, what are we doing? We playing. And I'm saying we, all me, everybody, we're all playing collectively. It might be individuals who might be doing, but this won't work as individuals. It will never work as individuals. Never, never.
I
So what are we doing?
you know what came into my brain as you were talking? You know, it wasn't just like neighborhood associations, right? I said 2006, but really, and I'm thinking I had a conversation Sunday with somebody, actually with Willie Barney. Saturday I presented at the Housing and Revitalization Conference, and Willie said to me Sunday I went to go eat at the thing. He said, "You know what, Kimmer?" He's like, "You're a really good speaker," and I was like, "Thank you," And I started thinking about it, and I went to church like when I was a kid. I just did, right? But
Yeah.
also in those spaces, I was thinking about it. I had to speak in front of people all the time. When you were part of the youth group, if you wanted to be an officer, you had to run. That started at 12 years old. But also, this was spaces where our adults, I can't say parents because my parents didn't go to church, um, also received information. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Right.
But not just received information, they received it as a community, right? And when you are among other people, you're automatically going to be engaged in discussing these things. And oftentimes, discussion about issues does lead to action, right? And
Mhm.
so I think we're also missing these spaces where people are gathering to receive information. And that's one of the things I think about with the alliances, right? When
Mm-hmm.
I talk about these alliances, it's so much more than just like a neighborhood meeting. It's a space of two-way engagement between people, and also decision makers where they're also receiving information. I use that term back tax grant, and I will continue to use that. Senator McKinney told me himself, like, people aren't applying for it. Well, people
Mm.
also aren't going to these meetings
Mm-hmm.
where they're
They don't
able to
know.
be told 2 months before the application opens, 1 month before the application opens, when the application is open, when it's getting ready to close, when the report is due, and all these different things. And it's not just about grants, it's also about opportunities, whether it's jobs or it's bad things that may be coming down the pipeline, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I'm saying? So we also miss those spaces. We do have, luckily, your show, right? But how do we get everybody in Omaha to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mhm.
we need these multiple avenues, and I will always go back to these alliance spaces where people can come within their physical geographic space that ain't too far from their home, to get and share information.
Most def. We're still definitely on that. We learned that from you last season, season before last. I think is when we started talking about it. And Yeah, it really does start. Like Buddy was really right now just passionately like, what are we doing? Well, the we is the people that are living around us, living in our neighborhoods, the people that we get together with. We consider this show kind of a digital neighborhood association, but we also need the physical neighborhood association as well, because the things that are affecting you at your house is also affecting your neighbor next door. So yeah, it really kind of all starts there. And I like that you brought up the back in the day, the information in the black community flowed through the church, was a major source of info.
I mean,
um you
still
know
kind of does.
still kind of does, but there to me a big
There's
there's
a lot of
kind of
people at church.
right.
That's the
That's
point.
that's
That's
what I'm saying.
that's the point.
And to the point where there's got to be there's got to be a way that those people get the information as well. We're not going to tell everybody go back to church so that you can get this info. Info is just being distributed differently now anyway. So even people at church are still looking at their phones getting info. There's a way that we can figure this out. It's not the flow of information so much to me. It's whether people are deciding to get together once they hear it, once they get that. We get a lot of information out here, but how do we bring folks together in the same way? You brought me back to this show again. Like this show does kind of what the church did. We talk about it. We talk about it amongst each other. We get the info at the same time. So what does that lead to? What does that end up doing
Mm.
for the togetherness of what we need, the collectiveness of how we need to move?
Hmm.
How is that working? So, just some things to think about. I'm looking at the chat going off real quick, and I know that your time is getting coming up here. So I just want to jump in and say, Brother Pena said he will be running for the Young Democrat Vice President. I will be helping the next generation.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
You
appreciate
never
you
know.
stepping
Love
up
to hear
on
it.
some of that. Right. Tony Johnson giving some. He says, I applaud you on this personally. Just not ready to return. They need to regain trust of Black voters.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Trust is always something that we talk about a lot. It's actually what's really lacking in our community more than anything else. We have the information. We can all talk about it. We can all decide we're going to do something about it. And do we trust each other is actually going to do those things sometimes? So the trust is a big factor, and rightly so. We've never been able to really trust any of the establishment, especially
Mm.
Hmm.
the Black community. Where do you go for that? There's also the players within the Black community that are aligning themselves with the supremacy, and you can't trust them. So who do
For
you
their own
trust?
individual
How do you
gain.
be trustworthy? Tony Johnson says, strange when nowadays a lot of the Black leaders locally are tied to the church, but communication is still lacking.
Mm.
I think they have the attitude you need to be at the church to hear this, because there's that also the church push a little bit as well. So
Yeah.
it's kind of your fault that you ain't at the church getting this information. We got to approach that differently, I think.
That's why I left my church I was at since I was a kid.
Really?
Mm.
Yeah, I did. I actually go to St. John AME now, the sister church. Yeah, but and also I lived in the neighborhood where my church was, which is not the situation that really exists today, right? Not like
Mm-hmm.
it was back in the day. South
Mm-hmm.
Omaha has four Black churches. That's because there was a large Black community in South Omaha. I lived right up the street from my church, and my backyard was Southside Terrace, the projects. You know what I'm saying? And so I got people literally shooting from my yard, shell casings on my doorstep, people
Man.
getting killed across the street and stuff like that. And I was like, I'm already an active person and I'm trying to get y'all in this neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to be out in the neighborhood, not
Mm,
just hold up in the walls of this church. Like,
right.
that's not how I can operate. So I'm not saying they wrong. I'm just saying that the way they operate is not how Kimara Snipes operates. So it's time
I
for me to
feel
go.
that.
Man, actually, I did a documentary back in college called Pulpits to Politics. And it kind of talked about that very thing. Like you look at the time of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I mean, even Brother Malcolm.
Yeah.
Malcolm was an Islamic minister. He was a religious leader. You know what I mean? And we had a lot of religious leaders out on the streets marching. You can't just if you're listening and you're a religious leader, or if you're in religion, get out of the pulpit, get out
Mm,
of the pulpit and get in the streets. If you're really a shepherd,
yeah.
go to the
My
sheep.
my
Award
pastor
winning.
I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say award winning documentary by yours truly, Buddy the God,
Oh yeah, yeah,
coming
yeah,
soon on
yeah. Associated
firstguyomaha.com.
Press.
Yep, yep,
Yeah, thank you.
yep.
Go
No,
ahead,
I was
Kimmer.
just saying my pastor and I have conversations all the time, and he went to Morehouse, and he also was a union organizer for the CWA in the 60s. And
Mm.
like we have some really great conversation, just so much wisdom. And so I get a lot of advice from him when it comes to the organizing that I do as well.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Jump in the chat real quick before we get your final words here. Marianne Williams in the chat says, "Morning, good morning to you." Says all is not it's not just the Black Caucus that's reactionary. The Dem Party is a part of is always on defense and never offensive, fighting bad
Mm.
policy after it happens. Good point. Mama Guy said, I went to our neighborhood meeting. They were about to vote to disband. No participation anymore. I
Yeah.
appreciate that we put out the call for y'all to join your neighborhood association or form one. If there was not one, Mama God heeded the call, went to the neighborhood meeting, and this is what she's reporting back. She's like, they're about to disband, which is
That's why I talk
unfortunate.
about alliances,
Yeah,
because that's what's going on with these neighborhood associations, right? Our alliances exist, and those are spaces that we can go, and it doesn't have to look like it's always looked. Keep
feel
going.
that. Wanda Lewis in the chat real quick says, I agree with Anthony Rogers. Right. People generationally programmed to certain political alliances. The efforts are convincing them by using historical facts on how was possibly a conflict of interest. Got to have the education first for sure. Marion William continues her thought, but the party's main job is to get people elected. And I don't know that people always understand that main goal isn't about policy as elections. Wanda Lewis says some of the churches are about the teachings of politics nowadays. Follow the money.
Mm.
Interesting, yeah, yeah. That's we'll jump on that and jumped on that another time. Tony Johnson says no religious leaders spending energy hosting concerts and events in Omaha. Okay, yeah, another way to reach out to folks. Now religious leaders in North Omaha only talking about media and community when they're promoting their side hustles.
Mm.
Mama God said, I've been asked to lead. We'll be calling you, Kimara, see what I can do to resurrect. There you go. All
Beautiful.
hope is not lost for her neighborhood association. Love that.
Beautiful.
Beautiful, beautiful. Appreciate it very much, buddy. If you got something you want to ask her, because I want to get to her last words here, so we can let her get on about her day. But I know that I don't want to step over something that you were thinking.
Um, I mean, there are some OPS things, but again, we do know that you're running for board. But I don't know how
Yeah,
much time,
let's
how
jump
much
in.
time you got left.
Yeah, let's jump. I mean,
Okay, okay.
if you could hang for a few more minutes, we'd love to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because again, you are running for school board, and we do want to highlight that, not just the work that you do for One Omaha, and just you being you. Again, an impactful sister in the community and the neighborhoods. But again, running for school board, and Marlon Harrison actually asked us a question that was pretty thought provoking. I appreciated this. This is coming from an article out of Omaha World Herald about OPS possibly changing. Again, this is purely a policy in school boards, but it could impact, especially if there's some parents out there. OPS teachers would get a 2-hour late start improvement days and new calendar proposal. And Marlon Harrison asked the question, if should parents, or should the school days go to half days, or should they have 4 days a week in schools, and again, um yeah, what are your thoughts on my more so thought is how this will impact parents. Again, there's already snow days, there's already at home learning days or remote learning days, and now the proposal of possible more half days and things like that for teachers. But this is also in the context of the conversation we've been having here on the show about how OPS and public schools need to improve. And this is again giving teachers and staff the opportunity to come together to talk about improving. But again, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I went to the school board meeting Monday night,
Mm,
and some of this came up. I'm a researcher. Like I have to research stuff. I'm thinking because I don't have a child in school anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so really I have to research it. They were talking about it. Kathy, who runs the OEA, she got up and was talking about just some of the, well, actually she called it teacher resignation day. I guess teachers, not I guess teachers are feeling like they need more time to be planning and to be preparing.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was a real sort of back and forth when I was there, and I was like, I have to go research. They talked about how um hope they're talking about the calendar changes that they were making,
Yep.
and how OPS they were hoping that OPS would like shorten the length of the day because they think that it equals like less behavior issues and increased morale. They were talking about Millard and how Millard had decreased by a certain amount of minutes, and Bellevue Elementary. They even talked about the archdiocese within the Catholic schools had added extra teacher days and things like that. So it's really something I have to research. I had to talk to teachers. I was going to call Kathy about it because I was a little bit confused. But overall, the biggest thing I was hearing was that teachers need more time to be planning, to be preparing, to getting together with each other. Jane asked a question and was like, well, is this time actually going to be for teachers to get together? Because, I remember my time being a teacher, and teachers were actually like going to dentist appointments and things like that. So I really don't know. I have
Okay.
to research it. Yeah.
Well, according to the research and according to this article, it is interesting as far as the parents. It was a pretty even split. They were asked, how would this change impact them and their lives and their daily schedules? And it was about a 30-30-40 split, with 30 saying it wouldn't, 30 saying it would definitely, and 40 kind of like it was somewhat, change. Yeah, if you do that research, I would,
So
be
my
interested in hearing.
question was how many parents were asked? And I
That's a good
thought I
question.
heard the number, but I wasn't sure. That's another question that I had for Jane when I talked to her, because they talked about these surveys that they sent out, but I couldn't hear the exact number. I thought they said around 6,000 they had, when we're also talking about, like 52,000 students, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't sure exactly how many of those surveys actually went out. That's always something I want to know, because we have a very large school district, and not just how many, but from who, right? Are we talking
Right.
Right.
about more that came from a certain group of people? Like, I need more information.
Yeah, folks that are working two jobs and didn't even get that email with that survey. So you know what I
Right,
mean.
Yeah.
right.
Right. Great question. Great question.
Appreciate your time here. Ms. Erkenfeld, I see, is saying some of that too. 4 day a week will be a hardship for many working parents, but half days would be even worse. 4 days is a good thing, in her opinion. This is a child care provider who I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
is very in close contact with parents that knows their schedule, so it can say that.
I mean, even parents with multiple children, right? We're talking
Mm-hmm.
about maybe you have kids in elementary, maybe you have kids in middle school, maybe you also have kids in high school. So we're also talking about different times, even with those. When you're a working parent, I mean, of course that's impactful.
Yeah.
Right. Tony, let's see. Jess in the chat from YouTube says, this is a new name, says Lincoln Public Schools just got rid of early release days, 1 hour and 20 minutes early the last Tuesday of the month for K through 8th grade, and every Tuesday for 9th through 12th grade for the next school year. So we
Mm.
got some surrounding school districts that are testing some things out too. So we'll definitely continue to talk about this and see where
Yeah,
this
I
goes.
will say it's hard to compare Omaha Public Schools to the other districts, being
Mhm.
that OPS is one of the largest in the nation.
Sure.
Mm.
But there is some, I guess, comparison that you can do.
There you go. Appreciate you coming on in. We're gonna let you go. You got any final words for the people?
Only that I am actually on my way to this IAP2 conference. I'm presenting a couple of times this week at this conference on the authentic allyship. And they also created a training called More Than Just a Neighborhood, that talks about the asset-based community development, the methods, and also like neighborhoods' role in like social development, equitable economic recoveries, and also creating systemic change. So I'm on my way to do that. If you want to talk about neighborhoods and how to get one started, please just reach out to me. I try to make myself as available as possible.
Yep, yep.
There you go.
There you go. The incomparable Kimara Snipes. Always got
Hey.
lots going on. We appreciate talking to you, and every time we get done, we're like, gotta have you back again. We got more to talk about.
There's too much. Too much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you.
Y'all
Good
like,
seeing you.
bye
Peace.
everybody.
All right, there you go. Yeah, love that. Love conversating with her, man. It's always a pleasure to hear what she got to say about some things. So
Yeah.
shout out to all of you who in the chat who chimed up on these things. Yeah, very, very good comments, man. Thought provoking. Very, very into that. Heather Williams said that she always gets the surveys and answers them. Not sure how they help. I understand teachers need time to plan, but children should be in school. I like the idea of year-round school, which Mayor Sanchez suggested a little earlier in the chat. So that gives everyone a break. Woo, except the
Mm.
kids.
Right. That part. Also, Miss Erica Felt, it's funny that Sister Williams is saying she received it because Erica Felt saying I never got a survey about this. So
Mm.
yeah, communication. Kimara asked a very good question. Who's getting this? How many are getting this? How many responded? So that is interesting as well.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back and jump into a few more subjects before we get to some haps.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, on this Wednesday, it is Wednesday the 17th, man. Already past the midpoint of April. And yeah, we're here still going for it, still talking about it. We appreciate everybody who joins in. We'll be right back. You're listening to First Sky Omaha Radio, First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
All B, Buddi3 Da Gawd. Actually, I'm switching my name to Jim Tim. Jim Tim in the house, y'all. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're listening to First Sky Omaha Radio, First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
You got me, Jim Tim. You got Buddi3 Da Gawd. It's going down over here on a Wednesday. Really appreciate everybody that's joined in on the conversation today. Do us a favor, share the show. And if you miss any parts of the interview with Miss Kimara Snipes, go back and check it out in its entirety on First Sky Omaha Radio. I'm sorry, First Sky Omaha, the Facebook page, and also the YouTube page, which we ask you to like and subscribe over there as well. And check out all the comments when you do. Lots of great comments today. Also, we're still doing some things over on TikTok. So if you're a TikTok person, check us out on First Sky Omaha, the TikTok page. You can get some news briefs and things over there as well. And shout out to Drunk Ship Coffee, which is one of our sponsors who is helping us with the show here, and also the TikTok news briefs over there as well, and some of the other things that's going on. So shout out to Drunk Ship Coffee. Go to drunkshipcoffee.com and order your beans. Man, they source them from a very special farm out in Ethiopia, which is the birthplace of coffee. One farm in Ethiopia, and they bring these over and do what they call a medium roast over here. But it's a little different when it comes to how they do things in Ethiopia. But yeah, get your grinder, get your beans on, and actually stay tuned because we do have that contest coming up as well that we're going to drop this week so that you can get a couple free bags of this. But shout out to Drunk Ship Coffee. Also, if you have things that you want, if you want to sponsor the show by showing off a product or something like that as well, you can hit us up at firstsky.omaha@gmail.com, and we'll get back to you and talk to you about some of that digital ad stuff that Pillen's trying to tax. So there you go. Brooks says, "Good morning, brewing some right now."
Hey. Yeah. Well, it seems like Mama God's waiting on her. She says, "Where's the drunk ship contest, guys? We waiting."
Yeah, we're going. As a matter of fact, I was gonna hit Mama God up, see if she can help with the contest. We'll give you some bags. I know you're looking for the coffee. I got some coffee for you. Go ahead and do that. You order Drunk Ship Coffee. Go to drunkship.coffee.com and you order from there. It's the family business out of California, so they'll ship you over some stuff. And apparently, they got some high quality T-shirts as well. So shout out to the people that have already purchased through hearing it from the show. That feels good. So I appreciate that very much. Good morning to everybody that's coming in right now as well. Yeah, man. So that's what's going on. It's 8:39 right now. If you believe in the concept of time, it's been a pretty lively show as far as the news is concerned. And as Kimara Snipes is always a great guest.
Man,
always love hearing from her. And I always like, we need a whole another hour with her just to talk about everything she's doing around town, man. All the notes from the meetings that she goes to and all of that. She gets down. So you talking about a person who is put boost to the roots, putting the money where money where mouth is, whatever this phrase is. She gets down. She gets down.
Yeah, she gets down, man. So big shout out. Thank you to Sister Kimara for dropping through on this. We talked about a lot of things. So again, a big shout out to everybody who kept up with the conversation, adding definitely valuable thoughts and comments, and we appreciate that. But yeah, again, just about 20 minutes left in this thing. You want to keep it moving, Paul?
Let's keep it moving.
Yeah, yeah. I did want to reiterate because this was kind of a big story for a lot of chat chimers. Again, if you missed it, we did touch on it in our conversation with Kimara. But again, if you missed it, Omaha Mayor Gene Stothert, this is coming out of Omaha World Herald, vetoed an ordinance Monday that again will criminalize parking on residential lawns. Again, although she did veto it, she offered some changes to the ordinance. And Ron Hug, Councilman Ron Hug, who is again the one who introduced the ordinance, says that he will take in consideration. Again, there does not look like they will challenge the veto. So to Kimra's point, there might be some opportunity for the public to speak up and kind of let their feelings and thoughts be known on this. Again, Ron Hug says, I don't know if we will try to rework the ordinance or create a new one, but I'll come back with something. He says, I appreciate and value the mayor's input and will certainly take her opinion into consideration. And one of the opinions that she offered was actually, having tickets handed out for cars that are both operable and inoperable. Again, unregistered cars parked on grass, she said, was just as unsightly, which is interesting because, again, to Kimra's point, could also elevate and increase the amount of time people are interacting with the police, which is apparently under scrutiny. This is also coming out of the Omaha World Herald. I'm just keeping moving, Paul. I'm just keeping moving, jumping into another article because this is something that definitely needs. We might need to take some extra time to talk about. Again, this is coming out of Omaha World Herald. A headline reads: Douglas County Grand Jury recommends more scrutiny of jail and prison deaths, and not just prison or not just deaths of individuals who are behind bars, but it also talks about deaths of individuals who are in police custody, who are dealing with the police in the presence of law enforcement, which again is always a concern, especially when you're talking about ordinances that could elevate the opportunities for those things to happen. This article actually talks about a young lady who died while incarcerated, Andrea Milnes, who passed in the early morning, actually was arrested for refusing to leave a hospital in the early morning of November 3rd in 2022. A police officer gave her a choice. She could be taken to a homeless shelter or she could go to jail. According to grand jury transcripts, she chose the Douglas County Correctional Center, and as she sat in her jail cell, she was irate as she was screaming and yelling that she was in pain. And less than 10 hours after she was arrested, she was pronounced dead in a jail cell of complications of an abdominal and intestinal condition. And again, this is not just a siloed event. Actually, a Douglas County grand jury scrutinized Mills' death and 13 others, six of which happened at the Douglas County Correctional Center, two at the state-operated Omaha Correctional Center, and six at the hands or in the presence of law enforcement. The grand jury listened to the presentation from Douglas County Attorney Don Klein and heard testimony from investigators, corrections officials, and medical personnel. And by the end of the proceedings, the 19 Douglas County residents impaneled on the grand jury returned a no true bill, finding no criminal conduct on the part of police or correctional officers. But the grand jury also took the rare step of issuing a recommendation, which is that the grand jury recommends that in all deaths in correctional facilities, both county and state, that there be an independent review of those deaths.
Mm.
The recommendation, which is non-binding and does not appear to have been widely shared with the public or corrections officials, strikes some legal observers as eyebrow-raising, given that it came from a body that is meant to be a mechanism for independent oversight. Creighton University professor of law, Leah Ellis, said technically the grand jury should be the independent arbiter who's looking into these deaths. Since 1988, Nebraska state statute has required a grand jury be convened to review the circumstances of all deaths that occur in the presence of law enforcement or detention personnel. Jurors are presented with testimony from investigators, and they have subpoena power to call witnesses and examine documents. But after being presented with each case, the juries deliberate and return a criminal indictment against those involved or a no true bill. Jurors also have the option of creating reports to explain their findings and issue recommendations, though they are not required to do so, and in most cases do not. Of course, the who selects the grand jury is, or how people are selected on the grand jury is highly selective. The public is not made aware of a grand jury convening until the work is finished. Because of that, it's impossible to know what led the grand jury to issue this recommendation or what is meant by the independent oversight. with the World Herald reports discovered that the September recommendation while reviewing grand jury transcripts at the Douglas County courthouse. And this is interesting on several fronts. Of course, we've seen highly publicized the grand jury situation with the death of Brother Skurlock. Of course, after that, there were also a few other police involved deaths that were wrapped up in. And I think this was, I don't know if this is the same situation or similar. Again, if you remember, 13, as is reported in this, 13 deaths were wrapped up in this whole grand jury situation. So it was kind of interesting how they were batched up as far as all of these cases being wrapped up into one, and how much time does each case really get, how much scrutiny does each case really get, if you have to cover 13 of them. Very, very interesting,
I
but
remember.
something that should be talked about. Go ahead, Paul.
I remember when they went through that, they knocked those out in 2 days too. That was one thing that we were really
Man,
tripping on. That they stacked all these cases and then went through them all, and then 2 days later, they no, of course, nobody is to blame. No law enforcement is to blame on anything. So
right, right.
yeah, and also peace to the family of Zachary Bear Hills too. While we're talking about police deaths, Brother Skurlock, Brothers Bear Hills. This is an ongoing thing, and who's policing the police is all I want to bring back to Baby Boy Bowling on that topic that he wrote
Man,
about at one time. Who police the
that's the
police?
question. That's the question, because it seems like a lot of times the police are left to police themselves, which, yeah, we all know what that is about. And aside from the grand jury, there are a little oversight exists, especially in county jail deaths. So between 2020 and 2023, at least 135 people have died behind bars in Nebraska. That's according to the data from the Nebraska Crime Commission, and the majority of those deaths, about 105 of those, occurred in state correctional facilities. The remaining 33 occurred in the custody of county jails in Cherry, Douglas, Hall, and Lancaster counties, and 20 of those 33 deaths occurred in the custody of Douglas County Correctional Center. So a lot of people dying behind bars. This goes back to another conversation we were having about, again, the legal opinion about blocking the attorney general, blocking certain um, legislative departments and agencies from, really reporting and knowing about what's going on behind bars. So again, a lot of attention should be pointed towards this, and a lot more questions should be asked about this whole grand jury process, oversight of police. And again, Senator Wayne was on Monday. He didn't want to speak too much about it, but again, we should definitely ask on Monday what other changes are coming down the pipe and what other changes should be coming in regards to criminal justice reform. Of course, there are some victories we've been talking about with the parole board and things like that, but much, much more conversation, much, much more work should be had on this.
Most def. Yep. Appreciate that. I appreciate everybody's comments. Wanda Lewis is echoing what you were saying earlier. Like we never hear about any follow up investigations, the cause of these deaths.
Yep.
And that does have to do with some of that too. I got to make a correction too. James Skurlock wasn't murdered by the police. Miss Erica Feld has reminded me James Skurlock wasn't murdered by the police. He was murdered by a popular white supremacist business owner. I
Correct.
think the grand jury was involved in that conversation there because Don Klein failed to. They felt they didn't arrest that white supremacist guy. They didn't. There was a lot of what the police kind of did wrong on this area. And I remember the grand jury being a part of that discussion as well. And man, it's around that time too. I remember I was out and about somewhere and ran into. Remember that brother that challenged the grand jury that spoke up in
Mm-hmm.
that case.
Mm-hmm.
I was out talking to him, and he was feeling a little bit like he didn't want to know people who he didn't want people to know who he was because he got such backlash when he kind of spoke out against what exactly is Don Klein doing in the grand jury, and he's kind of the person that was the person speaking on that, and yeah, it was rough. So I think there's definitely I'd love to hear if there's anything going on as far as any better oversights or any refinement of that process as well because obviously we need them. We can't have this many things going on. People passing away in police custody and by the hands of the police and by in extension, in the jails and the prisons without any kind of oversight. There's
Yeah.
got to be more.
Yeah, and in regards to the grand jury recommendation, spokesperson for the Nebraska Department of Correctional Services, which has been the subject of grand jury recommendations on multiple in multiple counties, excuse me, did not respond to questions about the procedure for receiving and reviewing these recommendations in time for publication. But just know that once the grand jury again goes over these cases, makes the recommendation, those recommendations goes to the Nebraska Department of Correctional Services. So that is the next place where we might need to direct some questions and get some more information from.
There you go. One last thought on that. Wanda Lewis says when considering extra funding, it should go to an investigative department and team who will be designated to do the oversight. Really great idea. I think that's definitely worth considering and actually pushing for, fighting for.
Yeah.
So appreciate that very much. 8:50 right now. If you believe in the concept of time, we're thankful that you've been hanging on with us through the whole show. Got a few more things you want to lightning round up before we get to the haps?
Yeah. Really quickly, again, big shout out to Sister Erica Felt in the chat for reminding us that it's not only Black Maternal Health Week, but it's also Black Maternal Health Month. And as she said, she's been spreading a lot of information, sharing some knowledge on her provider spot page again on Facebook. So if you haven't already, Miss Erica Felt, please share that link on in the chat for others to check it out and get some of that information. Again, this deals with again the birthing rates and the Black deaths of not only children but mothers who are passing in the process of giving birth, and this is bringing attention and awareness to that situation. So again, big shout out to all the sisters, all the mothers out there, man. We really appreciate you, really love you, really thank you. Again, Black Maternal Health Week is a week dedicated to raising awareness when it comes to Black mortality. According to the CDC, Black women are 3 times more likely to die from a pregnancy related cause than white women. So definitely would like to talk more about that throughout this month.
Throwing the W up for women right there.
Man, yeah. Here on this Women's Wednesday, there
Hey.
you go. Also, in other news, speaking of mortality and children and things like that, this is something that's coming out of a Flatwater Free Press talking about whose money. Actually, apparently, the Nebraskans are learning that the state has been taking or holding on to a portion of child support funds that have been going out over the last decades. The state, according to this article, has collected about $15.7 million in support that was due to people in its welfare system called Aid to Dependent Children. Sent about half of that to the federal government and funneled the rest into state programs. So again, funds that are supposed to be going to families in need, especially child support, to support the child, apparently is not going to them. LB 233, which was introduced by State Senator John Kavanaugh, would give more of that money back to families. Right now, a single parent who qualifies for aid to dependent children receives a maximum of $464 a month if they have one child, but then they don't get some or all of that if they're of their old child support money. That money, on average, about $240 per month, can significantly, affect those families' budgets. So definitely something to look out for. LB 233, and something to talk about more as far as how child support, where it's going, who's going to, and what is being spent on. And then also, finally, last but not least, we are still working with Omaha Land Bank and would like to remind people that there are some opportunities to get shovel-ready lots. Again, the Omaha Land Bank has teamed up with Lamp Wright Nearson, which is a civil engineering firm, in order to turn about 20 Omaha Land Bank lots into construction-ready, or also known as shovel-ready sites, to support the creation of new market rate or affordable housing developments through North and South Omaha. So again, if that is something that you're interested in, of course, the meetings that they were holding have ended, but there are still opportunities to reach out to the Omaha Land Bank, get some more information, and get involved in property ownership, land ownership, development. Man, a lot of things that we're talking about on this show could be accomplished by doing that. Economic, kind of changing your economic situation, changing the housing situation by having more affordable housing, actual housing that people can afford, not just affordable housing in the community, and then also help to beautify and build up the community. So again, a lot of things being accomplished through this, and a lot of opportunity coming from the Omaha Land Bank. So tap in, and that does it for our lightning round.
That's what's up. Go ahead and do us a favor. I put this in the chat right now. Fill out the lot transformation survey. They specifically reached out to us, and they know that our audience are people that are go getters. that are action oriented. So we appreciate that. If you would fill out that survey, we'd love to hear from you on these things. They're very open right now to make some changes. So this is the time for us to kind of speak up and do that. So we appreciate that very much.
Big time.
Speaking of action oriented chat chimers, Kimara Snipes in the chat is she just dropped something. Says I just got off the phone with one of our leadership members for SONA, South Omaha Neighborhood Association, and we are working on organizing around this ordinance, talking about the parking on the grass situation. Anyone interested in being involved? So there you go. She's putting the call out to chat chimers to get involved. Now she said she brought up a great point. Now we got some time. Now that Gene Stothert has put a halt to this particular ordinance, actually vetoed it, actually pushed it off the table after it got voted in. But also, she's going to come back with some things because, heaven forbid something be unsightly. That's let's make everything inconvenient for everybody because somebody don't like how something looks in front of your house. But so there's going to be some changes made, and now we got some people who want to try to get together here and do something about speaking up on those changes as well. And while I'm on the subject, there was a point about this article where they said the constituents have been contacting their leaders
The most.
to say that we want this. Like, quit snitching on your neighbors about. I mean, come on, man. I lived across the street from a family that had 2 box trucks, 4 cars, and a truck, and then frequently had a long U-Haul parked out on the street all the time. Always was blocking my driveway, always was unsightly, always in the way, always caused traffic on the street, always caused a bunch of noise, always had somebody working on one of the cars out in the yard. It was a mess. But you know what? That family was cleaning out storage units and gathering stuff and going and selling it and making their living, paying for their house and their 5 kids with that business. So no matter how much it irritated me, I wasn't going to call them on it.
Respect the hustle.
Stop. Come on, man. Stop snitching on your neighbors, bro.
They say it's the most complaints.
Them white folks ain't in North Omaha driving past your house like, I'm going to make sure we get these cars off this grass. That's your neighbors calling and being like, I don't like how it looks. Get off that. That's all I'm saying. My name is Jim Tim. I approve this message. Tony Johnson says the land bank willing to come on the show. Yes. Yeah, we're going to have members of the land bank on the show. Absolutely. Yep. We're going to be working with them. Anthony Rogers Wright says, I can't believe we are spending time on where we park cars and less time on where we place people who are houseless. Come on with it.
There you go. This is Omaha, y'all.
This is Omaha, y'all. Also, what about a panel discussion with potential school board members and current members? We'll talk about panel discussions. That takes a little energy. That takes a little bit for us to put that together, but not off the table. Mama God says she cares about lawns, but don't care about health issues of elderly in towers. Wow. Let's bring it back down to the perspective there.
All right.
Most deaf. Somebody earlier in the chat too says I think it was Wanda Lewis said that they don't even like you to have yards where you poured concrete in place of the lawn for you to be able to park on there. They want you to have your cookie cutter lawn house, which really doesn't make any sense if you really want to get down to it. Wanda Lewis says, when my son's tire was flat too long for the neighbors, they called the police. The car was registered and up to date. It's only going to affect us. If your car is sitting in the yard, broke down and unregistered, it's because you can't afford to do it right now. So why are they going to come and ticket you on that at your house? Moving on. It's 8:58 right now. Leave the concept of time. Are you done? You finished with the lighting?
That's it.
All right. I'm gonna get off my soapbox then and just jump into a couple little haps.
Jim Tim, calm down.
Jim Tim on one today. You know what? Better put your inside voice on before I put your outside. My name is Jim Tim.
What you got for him, man?
This is the art exhibit, man. I don't know if you're fans of Frida and Diego, but this I am, and they got a community art show going on inspired by I'm not even gonna try it. Castle and Cathedral Creative District Art Walk is happening at tomorrow, April 18th. That is a Thursday from 5 to 8. And it's at Jocelyn Castle. I don't know how many people have been to Jocelyn Castle to see what's going on over there, but it's a pretty interesting building in Omaha. And these are two of my favorite artists right here, and their love story is a famous love story as well. So Yeah, so everybody know about Frida. But do you know about Diego? Go check him out. That's again. That's at the Jocelyn Art Castle. Just go check that out. Even just for the Jocelyn Art Castle, Jocelyn Castle sake.
Man,
Yeah, just to check it out. So that's tomorrow from 5 to 8. So I wanted to throw that up there for my art people in
and
the
really
house.
quickly,
Hmm.
this is also, if you remember, we reported about the new art district in that area. This is the
Yeah.
part of that. The Castle and Cathedral
Oh,
Creative District is what it's being called. And I know a couple people had some questions about what type of artists they'll be showing, and bigging up in that area. So get some quote unquote artists of color in there, some
hey.
diversity. Yeah,
Okay. That's what's up. Appreciate that. Appreciate that extra information there. Didn't
yeah.
realize that. Also, put this on your calendar, man. April 27th, man. Afro Future Fusion
Mm,
Omaha. African food meets whiskey. You remember we had that article on Friends of First Sky Omaha. Everybody chimed up about a brother tackling the whiskey business, and he's teaming up here and with some Afro Fusion food. Come on, man. You already
okay.
know what this is about. This is Saturday, April 27th from 6 to 9 at MCC. That's that restaurant at the Culinary Arts Building, Sage Student Bistro. So which is one of my favorite spots in town just for lunch, just for
Man,
regular food. So now they're gonna have some Afro fusion there too. It's going down.
get some
Going
Jollof
down.
and Jack Daniels.
Brooks said lots of good local artists featured on that exhibit as well. So that's what's up. Appreciate that very
Nice.
much. Yep, yep. Also, let's see what else I had here was Benson Theater's in the pocket with Tim Clark. Tim Clark's going to be at
Mm,
Benson Theater Jazz Appreciation Month celebration. Didn't realize it was Jazz Appreciation Month. That's different. Never heard of that one, so I'm gonna have to look into that. But yeah, live at Benson Theater. You know where it is, 660-54 Maple Street. Wednesday, April 24th. That's next week at 7 o'clock. So get your tickets and go check that out. He always brings great singers, great musicians, and of course, Tim Clark be getting his singing on too.
man.
You got that Lou Rawls. He be on that Lou Rawls so many times. That's the kind of thing Jim Tim like to go see right there. You want to see that. Also at Benson Theater Soul Sessions, man, this is gonna be a big show right here. Big Wave and the Black
Man.
Swan Theory, bro. Yeah, this is going down. J Boy Robinson's gonna be opening.
Hey.
DJ Reggie C gonna be there. Yeah, this is going down. So appreciate that. This is May 2nd. Mark that on your calendar as well. I've been waiting for Big Wade and the Black Swan Theory to come through and do a whole show,
Man.
their whole event over there at the Benson Theater. So this is a long time coming. So we'll definitely meet you over there and check that out. Put that on your calendars as well.
Man.
Spring cleanup on North 24th, man. This is from the BID, Saturday, April 27th. So this is coming up as well next week from 9 to 11. Volunteers needed, litter, trash, and debris cleanup. Free dumpsters out there. And this is happening on April 27th from 9 to 11. So if you happen to want to go beautify up the deuce, then, get with the BID. The BID are all about beautifying the area. So, hey, that's positive. So go ahead and check it out. Get down with them and all that good
Man.
stuff. Also, we're gonna have brother Calvin Williams coming on. Oh, I'm sorry. This is not Calvin Williams. This is
The
another event
boss.
from 95.7 The Boss. Right. 95.7 The Boss is having an event on Saturday, May 11th, 7 p.m. It's coming up. Finesse 2 times gonna be on there. Because it's cool when they do it. Problem when Jen Tim do it. Problem. Get your tickets online. Go to etix.com. Finesse 2 times live in concert. Shout out to 95.7 The Boss and William King, who is bringing these big artists out like this. So really appreciate that very much. 95.7 The Boss gets down. It's going to be at the Admiral. I don't know if you guys been at the Admiral yet, but go check that out. Go check it out. And like I said, we'll talk about this a little bit more as the time gets closer and all that good stuff too. And Friday we'll be having Calvin Williams on to talk about Freedom Fest that's coming up this Wednesday too. So lots of festivals, lots of things happening.
Oh yeah.
And of
Just the
course, don't
season.
forget, man, Kamasi Washington is. I don't know if this is sold out yet, but this is May 12th. We got to go ahead and put that on your calendar and try to get down with Kamasi when he
Man.
comes. Anytime he comes to town. Shout out to the Slowdown for having the guts to bring a Kamasi Washington to the stage in Omaha, Nebraska, and selling out every time they do it. So they put some money behind making sure this gets out in time so that you can really kind of witness the greatness. And man, can't wait for this show too. So it's coming up. This was kind of one that was kind of far out from me, but I'm looking at the calendar like, ooh, it's like next month.
Man.
Yeah. So get your
Actually,
tickets.
Kamasi and Andre 3000 got a new track. If you ever
Yeah,
heard
it's like, yeah.
that dream state, yeah, man, yeah, yeah. Get your
That's what's up.
meditation on.
Appreciate that. My son, Mama God is also talking about a cleanup that's happening April 27th at 53rd and Hartman as well.
There you
So
go.
cleanups happening on the 27th, neighborhood cleanups. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Get rid of your furniture and stuff.
Is it okay? Is it so we can dump personal things and all that kind of stuff too?
Yeah, yeah. It's not necessarily like groups going around picking up trash. It's they have dump trucks that come out and there's lines of cars and people can load up the do your spring cleaning if you got old furniture and
Okay.
appliances and just stuff that mirrors or whatever you try and get rid of. This is opportunity to do that without dumping it on empty lots around the community. Go ahead and get rid of it the right way.
Got that. Got that. Right on, right on. Appreciate everybody. It's 9:05 right now. We're 5 minutes past our agreed upon time, so we appreciate everybody that's sticking around to talk about a few things there. Miss Erica Felt said, "I apologize. It's officially Black Maternal Health Week. I had seen it as a month by a random page. Okay,
Hey,
so yeah, this is the week to focus on that. But it's all about Black maternal health all year, as far as we're concerned around
right,
here.
right, right.
Don't
Yeah,
matter.
black mamas around here.
Come on, man. W women's." Uh,
Women.
Earlier, Buddy was reading an article, and somebody in the article was named Jim Tim, and we just been on that name because it's about the most old head sounding name I ever heard in my life this week. Jim Tim. My name is Jim Tim.
Yeah, there you
Uh,
go, Kimara. I think he leads like the Nebraska Broadcast Association or something like that. Yeah, 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 yeah.
I gotta have him on. I gotta see. I gotta
Jim
see.
Tim.
We gotta see. Appreciate that very much. Black Zam09 is saying, can anybody use the dumpster at the BID event? That's a good question, man. I don't. That's what made me question that. I was just like, you sure we can bring our old couches and stuff? I think the
Well,
BID they gonna be out there like, no, you can't put that in there.
yeah, I don't know about the BID on the Deuce, but as far as what Mama God is talking about on 53rd and Hartman on April 27th, yes, there will be dumpsters and dump trucks there to
Okay.
get rid of your beds and whatever else.
Oh, I like this. Wanda Lewis says though they will have designated locations for tires and batteries. Look at the bottom of the list provided. Okay, cool. I was always wondering where you can do that, where you can dump tires and batteries and stuff. I know you can't do it in a regular dump, so there'll be some places for that too. So yeah, check it out. I mean, this is spring. It's spring cleaning time, really.
Mm-hmm.
Purge, get rid of some of that stuff. As a matter of
Yeah.
fact, before we get out of here, there's a quote that a friend of mine, Tyler Payne, put on Facebook just recently. It's a quote by Herbert Simon. Said, "What information consumes is rather obvious. It consumes the attention of its recipients. Hence, a wealth of information creates a poverty of attention and a
Mm.
need to allocate that attention efficiently among the overabundance and information sources that might consume it." So it's a quote that's resonating with me right now. I'm reading this book called Deep Work, and Brother Pete and your Jim Jam time. I read this book called Deep Work, and I also replaying over and over this video of a guy that talks about minimalism and how having possessions weighs on your mind, cognitive load on your mind, which if you got too much on your mind, you're actually physically tired and you're
Mm.
disoriented and so on and so forth. So not only do we got to put ourselves kind of on an information diet, but we should purge items. I mean, just think about it. Every little thing takes some mental energy to have to deal with. If you got a watch on, you got to worry about your watch beeping. You got to figure out how to make it to see if the battery's still working in it. It's a minute amount, but those things add up. So the more minimalist aesthetic that you have, the less items, the less things you have, the less you got to worry about them. Every single thing causes cognitive load, and that works on your concentration, your energy. It works on a lot. So I was just talking to a friend last night who gets overwhelmed by all the news that's out here all the time and reacts to every news story that's going on. You got to physically turn that phone off sometime and not look. Give yourself a cognitive break on all of that. So that's self-care for me this week. And I appreciate Tyler Payne posting that post and just thinking about it. It is springtime, time to purge, get rid of some of these things, clear your mind for the rest of the year. And that's what I'm considering. So it's no coincidence that all these cleanups are happening around town too. Springtime, spring cleanup. Let's do it.
Yeah. Tis the season. Tis the season. Seeing Sister Clarice Jackson coming through, saying hello. Good morning to you. Definitely would love to, speak with you about what you did with the literacy summit
Yes.
So yeah. Let's double back on that. Let's
Yeah.
recap. Let's recap.
I'm glad you said that too. We had somebody came in this morning and said that it would be great to have you on the show. You did a killer job with that that event. So yeah, we'll definitely shoot out a message to you and have you come on the show and talk about that for sure. Appreciate that very much.
Big time.
With that said, we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. It's already 10 minutes past our agreed upon time. Thanks for joining us, buddy. You got some words for the people?
Yeah, as always, big shout outs to Sister Kimara Snipe for coming through. Kimara Snipes, ED of the One Omaha nonprofit, but also running for school OPS school board. Also, just all around, just active system, man. Definitely being the change that she would like to see, and we appreciate any time we get to spend with her and talking to her. Always a wealth of information. If you missed that conversation, go ahead and go back and check it out. Also, a big shout out to all of you, the chat chimers coming from Facebook and YouTube. We appreciate the love and support that we receive from you. Letting your mind be free, letting your voice be heard. Again, this platform is for you. Let's all come together, come to an understanding, and not just come to understanding, have the conversations, but move upon that understanding and move with some information and some knowledge. So we appreciate you. We love you, especially all of you who are doing that. And in the meantime, between time, catch the same time, same place, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on First Sky Omaha in the morning. Until then, Paul B,
Yo.
take it away.
Man, don't forget to join us on Friday, same time, 7 to 9. We got special guest Calvin Williams on. He's going to talk to us about what's going on with Freedom Fest coming on. And knowing that, brother, he might have some giveaways. So you might want to go ahead and check that out and do that very, very diligently. Come on through. If you miss any parts of the show, of course, go back and watch them on Facebook, YouTube. Check out all the chats. Really great comments and questions in there. So we appreciate everybody who has done that. And also, I appreciate everybody who's dropping in Friends of First Sky Omaha, the group page on Facebook, Friends of First Sky Omaha. That's where you can put articles about some things that you know that we'll probably pull and talk about the next time we get on with you guys. That's what it's all about, really, is kind of pulling the local news, finding out what we think about it and how it affects us in our neighborhoods, reading between the lines a lot of time we have to. And, of course, letting us know what the headlines are in our world so that we can make those the priority, that the narrative instead of the master narrative that's always out here. So I appreciate everybody's participation in this process of that. And we can't do it without you. So thank you. Want to give a shout out to the Omaha tribe elders for allowing us to be on this land and speak while we're here. I want to give thanks to our elders for allowing us to speak before you. And thanks to you, the chat chimers, allowing us to speak with you. Great conversation today. Appreciate all of your participation. Please go to firstskyOmaha.com, hit the donate button so that you can help us continue this process of having this communication, getting everybody up to speed on information and get on the same page and ready for action. That's what this is all about for us. And so we appreciate everybody who's joined in on on supporting us so far, and ask you to do the same as well. firstskyOmaha.com, hit the donate button. We really appreciate that. Shout out to Drunk Ship Coffee, who is our sponsor for this show, and for our news brief over on TikTok. Follow us on TikTok as well. Follow us on YouTube, doing a lot more with YouTube. Like and subscribe over here as well. Get your Drunk Ship Coffee by going to drunkshipcoffee.com. Order it. It's a whole bean sourced from one farm in Ethiopia, the birthplace of coffee. And we appreciate everybody who's already ordered and gotten their coffee as well. Stay tuned for a contest coming up where you might be able to get some free bags. So it's going down, and I appreciate Drunk Ship. If you also have a product, you want something for us to talk about on the show, we do have some digital advertising as well. So hit us up at firstskyOmaha@gmail.com, and we'd be happy to reach out to you and talk about some of that as well. So thank you very much for joining us, and we're going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you on Friday.
Yep.
Peace.
By the way, Vanglorious, this is protected by the red, the black, and the green. At the crossroad, with the key.
By any means